Ladies and gentlemen, today is December 13th, 7:14. We're going to be starting our regular town agenda. Mrs. Salzauer, if you don't mind stopping to talk, please. Our meeting is in session now. Madam Clerk, if you call roll, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Danzinger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Rose.
Present.
Commissioner Landsman.
Present.
Commissioner Meischeid.
Present.
Commissioner Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, Chief, if you'll lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Logis update was the last meeting. Mayor and Commission remarks. Open it up. Again, talk decorum. We have 2 people in here, so I don't think I have to run through it. If I could just ask the Commission again to please just wait till you are recognized to talk. Let's not talk over each other. Let's run a very nice, clean, organized, respectful meeting, as we have been doing in the past, and I appreciate it. And that's really it. And I thank everybody and all 2 people here for coming to the meeting tonight. Not counting that. All right. Vice Mayor, any comment?
Just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Looking forward to seeing everybody Sunday. Looking forward to spending some family time with my boys and my wife in the next couple weeks with the holidays.
Whoever goes first, we'll get it.
Also wish everyone here and at home happy holidays, and certainly look forward to seeing as many of you as possible this Sunday for the groundbreaking for our new 96th Street Park.
I'd just like to say hello and looking forward to getting back on track with this current agenda and focus on what we need to do next.
Well, thank you very much for everyone who's here. Not that many, but okay. I also want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a very happy and prosperous New Year's 2023, because we're not going to see each other again until next year. Well, of course, we're doing the groundbreaking of the park on the 18th. That's something that we've been waiting for a long time. As you all know, I was on the previous commission, and this was one of the things that we pushed forward, as in the past it was just a line on a budget. It was not something that was pushed forward by any other commission, but our commission. Well, the previous commission, and then this commission has pushed it to the construction line, which I'm very grateful for. And I know we're going to have an amazing park. I know we are going to have a lot of fun days there. And our families, residents and families are going to have a lot of beautiful memories in our new park. I'm very confident that that will be the case. And I want to thank everyone, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, who went? You went? All right. Vice Mayor, nothing to add? All right. Moving on to item, too many agendas here. Item 1E. We've got a couple items to switch around here. First, if I can get a motion to move item 2D for previously to the end of item 9.
Motion to move that item to the end of item 9.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so give me 1 second. Old 2E. If I can get item, sorry, that was 2D, correct? Yeah. All right, 2E, which is special meeting. If we can get a motion to move that into item 9.
Motion as well to move item 2E to item 9.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would like to, they were all ayes. I need to add an item in 9A. I have an item coming up that I request as per, where is our resolution 192620, which outlines expenses in town. There are certain expenses that we're entitled to, such as, whatever. But basically, this is not on the list. So we're going to have to just discuss that. I need permission from the commission for that. So if I can add that into item 9 as well. Funding.
Motion,
Funding for travel, which is not under the allowed.
motion to,
currently in this-
motion to add to the agenda. To discuss.
Expenses, discuss, I'll second that.
If I'm going to travel this thing, I need approval, so yeah. All right. Aye. Okay, and then one other item, we need to bring a walk-on to be discussed before the consent, I think we'll do it. Before consent. This is regarding the town manager and an acting town manager that needs to be put in.
Motion to add that to the agenda.
Under 2, if we can get specific.
Under 2? Under item 2? Under item 2.
Two is quasi, does that make a difference?
There's nothing on there.
I know.
Yeah.
Just to discuss before consent.
To discuss before consent.
Second.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I think that was it. Let me just confirm. All right. Item 1F, community notes from the mayor. So I just want to update the community. Hopefully somebody's watching because there's nobody really here. At our special meeting on the 29th, except for, on our special meeting on the 29th, this commission was discussing new development, which was going up next door to the community center. Hopefully people were tuning in because this touches everybody who enjoys the community center and will affect a lot. There were many sustainability items that the town required, such as upgrading the water main piping along Collins Avenue, raising the dunes. But the commission here was super focused and hyper-focused really on the safety, ensuring that, for example, the neighboring property in the community center, this commission, if nobody was watching, made sure that the developers, first and foremost, were working with the buildings next door until the building next door felt comfortable enough to come out and support the project. This was the first project that we as a commission went through, not a development order, but the agreement with the town. And what we saw from some of the other projects that went up, we've had people in the building suing. We're currently under a lawsuit. We had people complaining. I think this commission did a good job ensuring the safety of the neighboring property to the point where they even came out and supported the project. Many safety measures for the community center were bargained by this commission, including the luffing cranes, which are more expensive, but they ensure that nothing will be swinging out over the community center, over the people swimming, and over the beach, so people walking won't have that fear of a giant crane sitting over them, especially as they're enjoying the pool. This was a big item, and I know a lot of the commissioners were very adamant about that. And again, it does come with a great expense to the developers, but it was very important for us. We also got the developer to agree to pay for the exercise equipment that we're going to be doing on the beach end. And that's going to, and helping us with the lighting initiatives. And these were all big wins for this commission, so I just want to make sure that everybody knew about that. A reminder to the community that this coming Sunday, December 18th, will be the Surfside Winter Wonderland at 10 a.m. We'll also be having the groundbreaking ceremony around 10:30, as the commissioner mentioned, which is going to celebrate, hopefully, the new construction of this park that we've all been waiting for a very long time. So I'm happy to announce that. And with that, I am done with item 2F. 1F. I'm trying to skip ahead. Do you have the letter? Did you distribute that? You don't, Lily?
Sorry, Mayor, yes. Is this the add-on item, Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I did provide the commission right before the 5:30 meeting with a copy of the letter.
All right. I don't have it in front of me either. I don't know, given welfare. Sorry. I don't have to read it to the record, but I mean, we're all looking at it. Essentially, I had a meeting with the town manager this afternoon. He had some family issues he cited and has submitted his resignation effective today. subject to approval by the commission from separation agreement. So essentially, during this conversation, with all he's done for the town and pulling this through town through the Champlain South, we felt it was only due to compensate him for that. And even though when you do resign, you kind of forego on some of the benefits, given the circumstance, I thought it would be only right to apply those to this. So I think at this point, we need to have a motion to vote to accept this as is.
Okay, well, as you all know, Andy was appointed during the previous commission, and I thought he was a good addition to our town. I'm quite surprised at this. However, I do remember that in the contract it says that he has to give a 2-week notice. I mean, he can't just resign like this and leave our town dumped like this. I don't understand what's going on here. I understand that maybe people are not getting along with each other, but to go there and just leave us like that without even giving at least a 2-week notice, I don't agree with this. That's part of the contract, and in that case, it would be breach of contract. And that's something that I don't agree with. I mean, there needs to be time to have a transition between one town manager and whoever we're even going to appoint as a interim town manager or town manager. This is like unbelievable. But anyway, that's how I feel, and I needed to mention that tonight here.
Thank you. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation letter I received.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Meischeid,
Yes, sadly.
Commissioner Velasquez,
No.
Commissioner Landsman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger.
Yes, and I do
Mayor,
want to
the motion
thank our
carries.
town manager for his service.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, I think that a motion is also appropriate to approve the terms of the separation agreement, and we can discuss what those monetary terms are, and also authorize the mayor and the town attorney to finalize and execute that agreement.
Again, the motion was to approve it, and the item was to give him the severance that he was outlined here.
Yes, Mayor, the 20-week severance on the base salary, the payment of the premium health insurance for 20 weeks, and payment of unused vacation time, I believe was in his resignation letter.
Yep, and it was voted and approved, so we're going backwards here. All right, so moving on to the important thing, it's obviously we cannot have a gap in service to the town.
Lily, don't we need a motion for the separation agreement terms?
We just had it.
I said the resignation letter, it was in it, but I can make a separate motion if you
No,
want.
just a
Okay.
clarification that the motion included the terms of the separation agreement that were in the
Okay.
manager's letter. If you could just clarify that, Vice Mayor.
Yes, and the motion was to accept the terms in the resignation letter for the compensation package.
Do you want
Thank you.
another
No,
vote?
that's fine.
Okay. All right, going back, so, we have a lot of projects in the work, a lot of capital projects, a lot of things going on in town. Obviously, we're going to have to possibly search out there and get people in and look at the role, but it's important that there is no gap and there's no stopgap for any of these things. Being the only person on this commission to be working in town hall all day, pretty much every day for the last, 8 months, I've identified someone that I felt is a very good candidate to move these items forward for us and keep us going so there is no disturbance in our process. So I'm going to pass the motion. Don't want to do that, but I'm going to do that, and I'm going to recommend to the commission that we put in Hector Gomez, Public Works, as our acting town manager until such time as we can look through the resumes.
I'll second that.
Guess we can open it up now for discussion.
I guess guess, point of inquiry to the mayor. I'm not sure that Mr. Gomez had any prior information or knowledge that this could possibly happen today. He's here, thank goodness, and has done a great job as our Public Works Director. Would it be appropriate to ask him to come and perhaps share with us his interest in this role?
Yeah, I mean, first, that's one of the things I was gonna say. I'd like to call him up to see if he has any interest, because obviously this is unprecedented, so let's see, you know, Mr. Gomez, if you'd like to come up and see if you're open to accepting it or not, and we're gonna keep discussing it after that.
Hector Gomez, Public Works Director, Mayor, Commissioners, Lily. You know, the goal here is to have continuity. And if that means that you feel I'm the best fit person for the continuity to maintain all these projects going, and obviously to carry the employee morale and whatnot, I mean, you know, it's a task I would be willing to take. Obviously, a lot of details to be discussed. I would assume it's an interim position. But with that said, just to answer the question in a very simple tone, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Point of clarification, this is for interim to discuss, right? Or that's
If I may, through the chair, the term interim requires that within, I believe it's, 72 hours, that we appoint an acting. I don't think we're gonna resolve this in 72 hours, so rather than call a special meeting in 3 days, I think we just move to acting and then take steps forward after that.
Okay, so just for now, acting town
It's
manager,
acting
then
town manager.
to have the broader discussion at another meeting, or is that just, what's the?
We can bring that up at another meeting if everybody wants to continue discussing that. My personal recommendation, as I said, there's been, you know, pretty much one person carrying every project forward, doing the RFPs, pushing everything, working on that, and I don't see why we should make a gap with that. We open it up to, obviously, we start opening up the position, but in the interim, I think this is the best candidate to move these items forward for us.
Mayor, just to be clear, it's always been a team effort. I do appreciate the commission's foresight in seeing the leadership in me, but it's, as a point of clarification, it's always going to be a team effort. All these projects require a team, so if you feel I'm capable and fit to carry the team, you know, I leave it in your hands.
Yes.
I know, through the mayor, I know you have a lot on your plate with Public Works, and it seems to be very demanding at this time. Do you feel confident to be able to take on these two very important roles at the same time?
Through the mayor, if the question's asking if I feel confident, through the vice mayor, I will always be confident in myself. I know what I can carry and what I can perform. With that said, do I acknowledge that there's an additional workload involved with this? Absolutely. Does it mean that I have to buckle up and handle it? Absolutely. With that said, I leave it to the commission to discuss all the options possible and make sure you feel comfortable with your decision. But if your decision lies that you want to hold me in this position, I will, you know, it's a privilege.
Okay, any other? Well, I'm opening up for discussion yet. Commissioner Landsman?
So again, Mr. Gomez, thanks for sharing that. Again, this is probably something that you're just getting your mind around, and it's a big thing for clarification to the attorney, through the mayor. The terminology acting versus interim, if we make this acting, it goes until we have a full-time appointment, correct? And if it's interim, it only goes for 72 hours before we have to determine who's acting?
Actually, Commissioner, thank you for that question. Section 12 of your charter says you can appoint an acting town manager in the event of the discharge or resignation of the town manager. And then it says within 90 days thereafter, the commission must either appoint a permanent town manager or an acting town manager. So I believe you have 90 days under the charter from today.
Interim and/or acting, the terminology is irrelevant.
It's the same, acting,
Same,
interim.
Okay. Just for the record, he's not here. I certainly will miss Andy. I think he did a great job for the community for the 2 years he was here. He dealt with some very challenging environments, COVID, and then, of course, the tragic collapse at Champlain Tower. So Andy, if you're listening, best of luck in your endeavors. Sad to see you go, but I'm also looking forward to this change being positive for the town, for our residents, for our community, and I do support Mr. Gomez's interest. Certainly encourage you to apply as well if you'd like to be the permanent town manager. It's your discretion, and these next few days, weeks might make you decide one way or the other, but I do support this interim and/or acting appointment.
This, if I may reply, just through the mayor, yes, it's not expect this, but I understand that it's been placed upon me, and next 90 days, it's what can we do best for the town, and I think that's the goal.
Commissioner Velasquez, do you have comments?
Well, Hector, I think you're very capable of handling this. I think you have done a great job with the Public Works Department. I know it's a whole different ballgame because now you're dealing with finances and so many other different things that need to take place while being a town manager. And I mean, I see that the rest of the commission is very positive on moving forward with you, and I wish you the best, and let's see what happens from here on. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for, actually, Commissioner Landsman, you said it great. COVID and the collapse. I mean, two things that were unprecedented, not just for this town, but anywhere. So really, thank you from me and all of us in this town for everything you've done. Hector, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last few years because of my projects in town, so I definitely think you're capable. I personally would like to see this, to be the interim. I think we should do a search nationally and see the best candidates. And like we said, we have 90 days. Hopefully it's a marriage that works for both of us. Maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't. You got 90 days. It's going to be a new role for you. Like the finances, managing people, it is a different thing. So like I said, this is the interim acting. Who knows what's going to happen? We will have that search. And hopefully you apply, and maybe you won't want to apply. But I think this is going to be a learning curve for all of us. Nobody here has really been in this situation before. So I'm supportive of it at this time. I don't know if anyone has any other comments before we're going to call the roll.
I would just like to add one other comment regarding Andy. I did work well with him. I did give him a good review, but I guess we have to move forward with what is best for the town, and I know I've worked well with you too, so I wish you good luck, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
This is nothing with you, Hector. I'm still a little in shock at the town manager resigning, and especially without giving us a 15-day notice. I'm sure that he had his reasons. I think that this is the wrong time to do changing of town managers, and like I said, it has nothing to do with you, Hector.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, this is not pertaining to the item we're discussing here tonight.
How is it now? We're talking about the town manager.
No, we're talking about an interim. We've already passed.
We're talking about the interim right now.
Oh.
We did the other part.
Well, anyway, I want to thank Andy for all his hard work, and I wish him the very best, and thank you very much for all the time that you gave this town.
Again, point of order, Mr. Chair, we're going off topic here about
But
something that's
everybody's
not on the
thanking the
agenda.
town manager.
As part of their closing, but not to
Okay,
five
so I'm
minutes
closing
each.
them. I'm closing my statement. Why do you want to silence me?
Are you going to come?
But
Commissioner
everybody,
Velasquez, are we going to
but-
comment on this, or we're going to
Jeff,
call the
did
vote?
you say thank you to the town manager? To
I did,
Andy? Yes.
in my sentence.
Did Mary Ann say that? Yes. Did Fred say that? Yes. Why is it that when I say it, it's a problem?
right.
But anyway, okay, fine, I'm done.
Madam Clerk, can we call the vote?
Commissioner Meischeid,
Yes.
Commissioner Landsman,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Taking this back. Commissioner Velasquez, I just want to say, it's not about, it. Again, we've had this discussion. The goal of the chair and the purpose is to keep the meeting moving forward. If we're going backwards to the last item, we're not moving forward, we're literally moving backwards. So it's not about who can say what and silencing. It's about keeping the conversation steady and flowing in one direction. We're bringing up an item from the last time. I'm just trying to move it forward, that's it. You had all the time in the world during that discussion to thank and do what you wanted. Thank you. Again, it's not personal.
Move right along.
Yes.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Anybody have anything that they want to pull from here?
I'll
No.
move to approve consent.
Again, we're not, I have some items I'd like to pull up. Nobody else is pulling? All right, I'm pulling out item 3B and 3C for discussion after approval. 3B and 3C.
So can I just have a motion to approve consent minus the pulled items?
Yep. Commissioner Landsman?
And 3C?
Yes. 3 Boy and 3 Charlie.
The budget for the walkability.
Yes, I guess that would be it.
I'll move to approve consent without, taking the items 3B and 3C out for further discussion.
All right, is there a second? For consent agenda?
I'll second that.
All right, Madam Clerk. Actually, sorry, I think we have public input. Let me just see. Nope, we're good to go. Wait. 3B. It's not in front of me.
We're pulling it out to discuss separately.
3B is being pulled out separately.
Okay.
And again, it's not, I don't know who's getting these cards, but if I can get them, it would be very helpful. The cards? Did he fill it out or he's filling it out now?
He's filling it out now.
All right, 3B is not, we can move forward with the vote.
Can I call the roll on the
Yes,
consent
please.
agenda? Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Meischeid?
Yes.
Approval of the
Commissioner
combined
Velasquez?
3B and 3C.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger?
Yes,
Mayor, the motion carries.
thank you. I guess moving on to item 3B. You said you have a comment?
Mayor, can I read the title of the of the resolution?
Yep. You want me to take it?
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, approving and authorizing the expenditure of funds in an amount not to exceed $120,000 to engage Marlin Engineering, Inc. for Phase 2 of the Downtown Walkability and Design Study, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date. Item 3B.
Thank you. So, just to lay out my concerns, oh, sorry, we've got public input on this. Still didn't get it. All right, Mr. Kouslis, we're doing 2 minutes.
George Kouslis, 9225 Collins Avenue. This is basically the study, as I understand it, from the brief introduction, on the Harding Avenue Business District walkability thing. Am I correct on that? I believe it is. Okay.
Yes.
So here's my concern. So the studies that you saw encompassed all kinds of interventions, but it was basically something to start the conversation. And the budget you have in front of you, which is broken up into several pieces that gets you to the 120, includes the initial study of it, workshopping and stuff like that. About 70,000 is reserved at the end for construction documents. It may or may not get that far, but you really don't know until you start looking into it. And there are certain features of what was presented in front of you that I disagree with, and there are other features that I highly endorse. But the overall effort to improve the character and nature of the business district, I'm fully in support of. So I think you should keep on pursuing this. You can always redirect the funds in a, you look at what the product is coming out, and you can decide to do something down the road that's entirely different. But I think this is the first step. This is how anything gets started. This is how the park got started. You got to start someplace, and I think it's a good investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kouslis. Ms. Salzauer?
Eliana Salzar, 9317 Bay Drive. I was recently up in New York for vacation with my family, and I have to say that I did looking around at some of those sidewalk things that they have out in the streets that I think we had talked about maybe doing, and they are disastrous. So I would, whatever they come up with here, we really need to make sure that we are focusing on walkability and not just more dining space in the street and taking away parking and taking away from other businesses. What they did in New York was only because of COVID, and they were looking for some outdoor space and added dining there. That is not something that we would ever want to see replicated in our town. Again, I would oppose anything that removes any of the parking there, because then we're going to create an artificial parking crisis that then requires a parking garage, which, as we know, residents are not fans of. So thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer. All right, no other public comment? Gonna close that and move, what time is it? All right, we've still got time. All right, so just to reiterate what my issues are with this, and now that we have somebody yell at up on stage, so I can direct the questions to you. First issue is the price. All right, we have $120,000 to study in the entire downtown area. That's 2 blocks. This commission approved a little while ago $90,000 to study 88th Street, the corner. That was supposed to give us where and how we can do the memorial. I'm seeing a very big price discrepancy, over here. I don't know which contract was off, but we've approved $90,000 to do a study of a half a street end, which is already, marked off by the county. And now we're about to do 120 to do the entire downtown area. So I think this is more on the last one, but.
Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity, and Mayor, to answer your question. These contracts are negotiated through a CCNA agreement. Therefore, depending on the professional services, we're trying to quantify into a price. It's the services that are going to be rendered. With that said, I can tell you that this has 5 tasks for 120. It is not just simply a study, and this is going to take us to, my understanding, based on a proposal from Marlin Engineering, it's going to take us to a permit-ready product. These are certain additional tasks involved within this task order that perhaps are a driver towards the 120K. I believe if it's presented here, it's something that administration, that staff looked over and coordinated and discussed and negotiated with Marlin Engineering. If any specifics to the negotiations of each task, I would always count on my staff that was involved with this negotiations. But based on the 90 for simply a design to 120 to take us to a permit-ready format, it seems like it's within range, mind you.
Well, again, if I may, my question really wasn't on this item. It's just that if you take construction plans and park with prototypes, we're at $85,000, and we paid 90. So my question is really on the other contract as to why we spent $90,000 over there.
I would have you, Mayor, to give me the chance to review both contracts, do a proper contrast of each, and just try to determine the scope of works and services for each, and just try to really iron out what's what and what are we buying out through each contract.
Yeah, I mean, again, the point is seeing the pricing here and then looking at what supposedly, and again, I'm not privy to the exact details of the other scope of work on 88th Street, but to me, it seems like it's a lot less, and yet somehow it reached the price similar, if not more, to this one. So if we can just look at that 88th Street and see what we're getting for that price that we're paying to do the entire downtown is, I guess, really where I'm coming at with this.
Understood.
The other issue I have with this, not an issue, but a question, and I'm sure there's a reason, is it says 5 crosswalks, right? Where part of the scope of work is to redesign and stone out 5 crosswalks. Are we not, this commission voted to put in a crosswalk on 96th Street, that would make it 6 crosswalks. Are we leaving it out because we're still waiting for something? I mean, or does it pay to add that to the scope of work?
Mayor, I can tell you that 6 crosswalk that was brought forth a few commission meetings ago was something that this administration was tasked to, and we pushed FDOT to incorporate it into their Harding Avenue Milling and Resurfacing project. Therefore, as a result of that hardening, milling, and resurfacing project, which is a milling and resurfacing project to go from 96th Street all the way to Indian Creek Bridge towards 60-something, I'm not quite sure, within the Miami Beach realm, but within the entire Surfside boundaries, there will be additional crosswalk improvement projects. One of the items within the agenda actually authorizes a license agreement to assist towards that goal. And again, we push DOT to have within that work order for the milling resurfacing an additional crosswalk added on 96 and Harding, and you will see that being constructed. This is based on existing conditions, and currently right now there's not a sidewalk, crosswalk there, therefore it's not an existing condition. So is this to be taken back to Mullen and perhaps incorporate that? The beautification of a crosswalk does not change it from being a crosswalk. It's just simply we're enhancing it through beautification through whatever methods, whether it be pavers, stamped, whatnot. But the goal from a really basic standpoint is having a crosswalk. I would like to see what it means as far as how these crosswalks are being upgraded.
Well, I guess the question was, how far off is the 96th Street crosswalk project? And then you're mentioning FDOT is gonna kind of cover that as they redo it. So is that, is that a reason why we didn't address it? Because we don't know when 96th Street is done, if it's gonna be done. If, for example, if DOT is not, if we can change that crosswalk, it's gonna take a while, then we'll wait. If it's going to be within the next 6 months to a year, this downtown project is gonna take a while as well, and it may be worth it to incorporate that into it.
Again, if this is just to beautify a crosswalk, I would leave it as is. If you have to go to DOT and change something right now that is so late in the game, right now DOT is in finish line with wrapping up right-of-way permits, permissions from different municipalities to allow them to do certain things. If we have to do a design change this late in the game to a project that is supposed to start in 2023, we may see a delay in the Harding Avenue milling and resurfacing project. For a simple crosswalk, 5 out of 6, I would leave it as it is.
All right. Some other items on here, just looking through the budget, through the budgetary items. We have scope of work, right? Task 2 is public outreach, $15,000 for 2 meetings with the residents. If you look at the item, public outreach, this activity includes public outreach with phase 1 study. It envisions 2 interactive public workshops which will be utilized to further accomplish plan refinements. So again, $15,000 for 2 meetings with the residents seems a little high to me. I don't know if that's something we can go back on, but I don't know who's getting paid that an hour to sit there. If it's 4 hours, that's $3,500 an hour.
Just an interjection here, and perhaps our finance director can share. I think these are numbers that are up to and not necessarily prepared to be exactly 15,000, 10,000. These are round numbers, and it's a budget approval to go up to that amount if needed. But I agree, Mr. Mayor, that there's no way 2 meetings should be, $15,000 unless you buy a lot of pastry. I don't think that's the case. So I think it's up to, there's noticing requirements, advertising requirements, but I agree, it's probably gonna be less than that, but this may be just an estimate to get it budgetarily approved at a number that could cover whatever we need to do within those constraints.
Well, I'm pretty sure notification requirements are gonna come from us. This is specifically to them, and again, it's all outlined in the item, right? The scope of work outlines what they're doing. So knowing that this is for 2 meetings and that's all it is, this seems like a lot, and if it's a cap, it's still a lot for a cap. It doesn't, some of these numbers just don't make sense to me. I'm gonna continue and then I'll see where I'm going with this, and we either agree or not. Scope of work, task 5, which is agency coordination, right? If you read what the task is, it's a duplicate for task 1, which includes project management. So again, you have $10,000 for something that agency coordination. If you read through the description, it matches the end of description 1, which is to perform ongoing project management under this task. Item 5 talks about doing project management. So I'm seeing it twice. I'm seeing $10,000 for something that was kicked off into task 1, which is kickoff meeting and project management. And again, if it's just a kickoff meeting with staff, that's a $10,000 meeting with staff. So there's public, the 2 items, item 3 and 4 makes sense, especially given certain things that we've spent on in this town. But we're at $35,000 for a couple of meetings. And I really would like to know where that's, going. I personally would like to pull this back and just have fresh set of eyes look at this again and go through it. I guess my motion would be to, God damn it, to pull this.
Is there discussion? Is there any
Well,
more
I gotta make a
discussion?
motion and discussion, otherwise we're
Okay.
discussing nothing and going in circles, so. What I'm trying to do here, and that's what the motion is to essentially pull this back and get a fresh set of eyes. There's certain things that don't make sense, and to look at this contract again. There's no second, then it just gets approved and we're good to go. All right,
We'll make a motion to approve the contract as is.
Second?
We can have discussion now, yes?
Yeah, now we can have discussion to approve it.
well, I mean, if nobody was gonna second it,
Yeah.
what's the point?
No,
We all know that you
That was
approved
in
it. I'm
consent.
the one
I
that
don't
pulled
know.
it out. I really don't see the purpose of delaying the meeting if you all
It was,
approved it.
it was in
Let's just go.
consent,
Let's-
so I'm okay with calling the roll on, because it was in consent, we didn't second it to kill it, so I'd like to move it forward.
Commissioner Meischeid seconded.
Right. So if we do discussion, maybe to help, no?
What's the purpose, though?
There's no purpose.
My only suggestion is we ask through the mayor, through the interim town manager, maybe
The
to our
new
town
chair, the
planner,
vice mayor, go ahead.
vice, to all these people, to come up and explain that for you, so that you understand perhaps where the numbers came from, and you may be absolutely right, they may be just numbers out of the air to cover those expenses, but not necessarily very specific.
And it seems a
Otherwise-
waste of time because there's 4 people that are approving this, so that, again, in the interest of moving the meeting along and not spending all night,
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we call the roll?
Commissioner Meischeid,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
No.
Commissioner Landsman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger,
again, I'm not okay with spending money not knowing where it's going, and it seems like it's exorbitant amounts, so the answer is no.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, let's just confirm this, item 3C, fiscal year 2023 budget amendment. And again, this is just more of a question for our finance director. The cost for the commission for this project at the November
Mayor?
15th.
May I read the title of the resolution since you
yes.
pulled it? A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, approving budget amendment number 3 for the fiscal year 2023 budget, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date, item 3C.
Thank you. All right, so my question or issue with this a little bit is the resolution is to move forward, or the budget amendment is the amount of $618,883. The project, when brought forth to us in the November 15 special meeting, was at $500,059. So we have an additional allocation of $59,883, which is almost $60,000 additional going into this, and I'm just curious why we're putting more money into a project than was brought forward initially and approved.
Here. Still getting used to this. Here, so my understanding, and I'll have Jason Green, our CFO, Assistant Town Manager, assist if I'm in any way off. But my understanding is there was a few fiscal years back, there was a certain amount of monies that were funded or that were reserved for a specific type of project to occur in downtown, which was a downtown lighting project. It was to enhance the lighting in downtown, to create more of a synchronized lighting depending on the holidays or whatnot. That project just never truly took off, but the funds were always left there. So this budget amendment, I believe, clarifies the purpose to repurpose those funds towards the walkability of downtown. And any in-betweens, I would request for Jason Green to assist me with.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Jason Green, Assistant Town Manager, Chief Financial Officer. Just to feed off what Acting Town Manager Gomez had mentioned, is that the $618,883 is what's sitting in the capital projects fund balance for the what was originally titled as the Harding Avenue Lighting Improvements Project. This budget amendment would retitle that project to the Downtown Walkability Improvements Project, and it's the total amount. So what you're doing is rolling forward the fund balance forward for the project. You've authorized this through the prior item, $120,000 to design the project, and that would leave the remaining balance of around $500,000 to construct said project. That obviously would require a commission authorization, so it's over 25,000. So this is just a budgetary, this is just moving forward the budgetary item for that perspective. Doesn't give the town manager or town administration any additional authority to expend the funds. So again, just rolling forward the money that was already approved by a prior commission for said project and retitling project.
All right, so for clarification, if the amount is going over the approved amount of 559, it comes back to commission.
The whole 618 gets moved forward because that was an estimate. That was just an estimate. I know that the external town planner brought forward for the overall project. It would just mean that you would have that available budget. So at the end of the day, whatever the project costs is what the project costs, but you have up to that 618,883 to complete said project. And again, that was just the estimate that was given. And then, we have the additional funds to actually construct it, because you wouldn't know until you put it out for bid for a public construction project to see what those numbers are.
Well, again, this project had probably about 6 months worth of time to get pricing, and I'm hoping that when it came to the commission, we were kind of, we were ready, we've authorized $100-something thousand for the study, that we know what we're talking about. I don't want to get hit after another 3 months of study that, sorry, we were off on the price and now it's 800,000. So I would hope
again,
that,
you're just starting the design process with that, and that won't be determined until it's put out to market. But this is just from a budgetary perspective. You're just budgeting the 618 is overall. It's already been budgeted from prior years, to be quite honest. It's sitting there. You're not appropriating any additional funds. There are funds already set aside specifically for this purpose. And anything above the 120 that you approved tonight already, we'll have to come back to commission.
all right, again, what I'm hearing is we don't know the final price of the project, and we were presented with a price to the project, and I'd like to think that that's kind of close.
Marlon's not here to speak to that, but again, this is just the design phase. Until you put it out for RFP, you don't have any idea what that's going to be.
Mayor, just to clarify, I will request Marlon come in next month just to give us a full breakdown of truly what the scope of services are and any questions specific to the construction costs and whatnot that were tied to come up with this estimate, to try and just give us a better answer on that regard, since those numbers, we're interested from them.
The commission voted on it, so there's, again, no need to go backwards. I appreciate it. All right, so I got my information. Let's move on.
I need a motion to approve.
Yes. Can we get a motion to approve item 5, was it 3C?
C.
Motion to approve item 3C?
Second.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Velasquez?
No.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Meischeid?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
All right, we got ordinance first reading. We have no resolution, we have resolutions? Authorization of the street signs, okay. We got 15 minutes to public, good and welfare. I think if we start A, this might take a little longer than that. Do you wanna, can we switch it around? Can we
You
start
can
with
get a
B?
motion to switch them around, yeah.
Even though we're not in addition to leakages,
You can make a motion to switch the order.
do you wanna switch it and see where we end up? Because I don't wanna get into a long
You wanna move
conversation and.
Good and welfare to before.
No, if good and welfare is 8:15, but I don't wanna get into a very large conversation and then stop it in 15
Can we
minutes.
move good and welfare to start at 8? No, we can't.
No, but you could move item 5B to
Can I
5A.
Can I make a motion to move item 2E, the special meetings, up to 8:05? That'll take 5 minutes.
I'm okay with that. I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
All right. I forgot to warn you that we have public comment, so. 2E, previous 2E, we have, let's see, Mr. Kuslis?
George Kislis, 9225 Collins Avenue. These early meetings seemed like a good idea, and part of their background is that budget meetings quite often took place early, and at other times, quasi-judicial meetings started at 6. It was basically so that the true agenda didn't get cannibalized by other activities. So the 5:30 meeting for items such as this one, things that are of general public interest, it's an early period, and it's a good idea, but I'm looking ahead and looking backwards also at meetings that you've had that have gone on to 11, or, you know, and there have been meetings where we've started at 5:30 and they still go on to 11. In other words, commission meetings behave like gas law. It fills the available volume. It just seems to. Planning board meetings, not so much, but commission meetings, yes. So I'm not sure whether the 5:30 start as a typical event is actually saving you any time or not. And it's inconvenient for a lot of people that would show up. Typically, 7 o'clock has been good. But that's one thing I would recommend, that you use it sparingly, and just manage the time of these, what are typically the 9 items, the category 9 items at the end. Just manage that better, but if we're going to be here at 11 anyway, why start at 5:30 and not 7? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kustos. Ms. Salzhauer, 2 minutes.
Aliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. From the very beginning, I objected to the 5:30 meetings. As you can see from the attendance at the 5:30 meetings, which is negligible to nobody, residents cannot make it to the meetings. What you guys have done is remove residents from the equation in any decision-making. You do what you want, you don't care what the residents say, but residents deserve to be heard. You are supposed to be working for us, for the residents. Pay taxes, we elect you, and you are supposed to listen to us and take that into consideration when you make decisions, especially when you're making decisions that involve spending our hard-earned tax dollars, which happens at every meeting. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars are being spent here every week. And yet residents have no opportunity to speak because they're busy working and can't make a meeting that's at 5:30. The meetings that start at 7, even with this addition, you had this ambitious agenda, and you said you need to have these early meetings. Let's try it for a few months. Well, you got off to a big start. You put a lot of things out there. I'm sure Hector can't even sleep from all of the projects that you guys have put into motion all at once. And there's a reason why government works slowly, because that's the best way to actually ensure that projects get done carefully. You can't just throw a whole bunch of things out there when you're talking about big, major projects, and that's what you've effectively done. These meetings, you've now launched everything. If you look at the agenda for tonight, there's nothing on it. There's no reason why you would have a 5:30 meeting. You shouldn't be having these 5:30 meetings anymore. Please pull them back, put everything back into the 7 o'clock meeting, and maybe 2 or 3 residents, as you see, we even got a couple of residents tonight, can come. And that's the whole point. Okay, you guys have removed the you in Surfside, okay? And the you, right? The you is important, all right? Residents are the you, and they belong in the equation here. So please, make the time. You're elected. If you can't sit here for one night, then why are you in office?
Thank you, Mrs. Salzhauer. Sorry?
Introduce it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to close public comment. Sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor, if you'd introduce the item and give a little background on it for it to
All right.
discuss.
So a little bit of background. This commission discussed on July 12th about having our special meeting start at 5:30, which were really just supposed to be commission discussion items, which were our item 9s. Many residents have given myself and I believe other commissioners here that they wanted to talk on the things that are come back at first or second readings at 5:30 at night, not 11, 12 o'clock at night. Unfortunately, over the last 9 months, other items have been put on the agenda. It was just supposed to really be, and even tonight, we had 2 items that were put on, one by the town manager, one by the town attorney, things we needed to get to, but they shouldn't have been on this. This was for us, our item 9, our first initial discussions. Do they want to go anywhere? Do they not want to go anywhere? Half of these meetings got filled up anyway with budget items, quasi-judicial and different things. So we really actually only had about 4 or 5 early meetings. It was just supposed to be for our item 9s, and I wanted to discuss this further on. I personally wanted to keep having this just for commission discussion. It shouldn't be anybody else besides the commission remarks or commission discussion items, not a town manager, not a town attorney, not a finance person, not the town planner. This should only be commission items for our initial discussion if something should even be brought back for a first, second reading or further clarification. Now, one of the things, unfortunately, that ended up happening is we still extended our meeting sometimes too late. And I don't think we should be doing that. I think one of the things is if we continue with the 5:30 meetings just for commission discussions, that we should then have the meeting, you know, it's supposed to be from 7 to 11, finish up the item that we're on and call it a night, not keep extending unless there's a first reading, a second reading, or something that's budget that has to get done. So we shouldn't be starting at 5:30 and then extending the meetings till 12 or 12:30. We're basically, so people don't have to stay up till 12:30, 1 o'clock. We're trying to move it earlier so most residents can come here, discuss the items they want to, and not wait till 11, 11:30 and maybe not even get to discuss it. So most people I've talked to want to just have the commission items on there, not other items from other people in town.
Yes.
Well, to begin, I just want to remind you that the one that's always extending these meetings is you in particular, Jeff. I mean, you're the one who's constantly doing these, extend the meeting another 5 minutes, extend the meeting another 30 minutes, extend the meeting an hour. I mean, I agree that the meeting should finish at 11 p.m. So if you're gonna have these meetings start at 5:30, there needs to be a clause here that says that the meeting will end at 11 and you have no other right to continue to extend these meetings. Because you have our staff here till 11, 12, 1, 2. We've been here till 2 o'clock in the morning. And the purpose of these 5:30 meetings was exactly not to be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. It was for us to get out at 11 o'clock, as these were discussion items, that they're not being voted on to set in stone. It was just things that were being put into like ordinances that would come back the next month and stuff like that. But then it evolved into let's continue to stay till 2 a.m., which is not right. It's not right for the commission. It's not right for the rest of the town. It's not right for our residents, and it's definitely not right for our staff. That some of them have to drive very far away from our town. So if we're going to do this, I think that it should be with a limit of no more than 11 p.m. If you don't get to discuss what you wanted by 11 p.m., then that's it. You put it on to the next month in your discussion area or in the 7 p.m. meeting. But this cannot continue to happen. It's one or the other, but you can't have them both.
Thank you for your opinion, Madam Commissioner. Anybody else?
I'll just add my 2 cents to Mr. Kouslis. We do tend to fill the void. I don't know how that happens, talking 45 minutes about curb cuts, but it does happen. And then other topics seem to expand as well. To former commissioner, yes, 5:30 is early. And the expression is damned if you do, damned if you don't. The objective there was to try to get our work done and not have it be till 1 in the morning, 12, and get an earlier start on some items for discussion so that we all could be there. If you're not there early, can you be there late? There's always this, who wants to do what? Everyone can't be happy. That's not our, we can't please everybody. So the objective was to get more done, to get work done, and not have it be as late. It ended up being 5:30 till 1 in the morning. So we can have this discussion and we'll do a vote. I would tend to agree. Let's start at 7. Let's get our work done. I think at this point we've gotten a lot of things accomplished, and we probably don't have as much. And yes, I'm filling the void with time with my conversation.
I would be okay with continuing the 5:30 meetings as long as what Commissioner Velasquez said, let's stop at 11. Which I think, again, was the whole purpose of the 5:30 meetings. And I think we can do that and work on that.
All right, if I may, first of all, these meetings were designed so we can get things done. The fact that we're still here till 12 o'clock means that we need to do it. If we started at 8, we'd be here till 4. I think we're elected officials. You are in this position to get certain things done. If you can't put it out past 11, you probably shouldn't be sitting here because that's what this job entails. Our job is to review items and get things done for this town. None of us like doing it. I've missed 2 kids' birthdays and an anniversary, but you know, this is what we're here for to do. The only issue I have with this and what I've seen happen, and I know the Vice Mayor brought this forward initially, was for us to get our discussion items, and this way 7 o'clock is town business. What's happening on these agendas are the town is putting their items into the discussion. Last meeting, we had a representative come down and speak for almost an hour, which killed our whole meeting. As the chair, it's very stressful because I have to start the next meeting at 7. It's easy to push off a discussion item, but it's, once you start bringing business to the town business to the meeting, and we have to hear it, it's killing it, it's taking away from the time that we allocated for ourselves. Town business needs to be at a 7 o'clock meeting. It should not be on here. Every item on here should be a discussion from a commissioner. It should not have the town staff name, it shouldn't have the attorney's name, it shouldn't have anybody's name but a commissioner on here. This is for discussion purposes. It's not to bring lobbyists, it's not to start bringing and filling our time with town business. That's a 7 o'clock meeting. This meeting was put specifically for that. So I'm very good, going on with it. The hope is that the same people that talk for hours and every resident, this is what it is. If it takes it past 11, it takes it past 11. Hopefully, if I can do my job as chair and move items forward, we can get out of here before 11 every night. But we still have to that's why I keep pushing things forward. So I'm all for these meetings to continue for now, but only for commission items.
I'll make them, if that's okay. I'd like to make a motion to continue our 5:30 meetings only for commission items on the agenda at the 5:30 meetings.
I second that.
So there's no stopping this?
Nope.
11 o'clock?
You can't end a meeting at 11 if you don't know what sort of business is going to be in front of you. It's not fair for the town and for the residents for us to wave up our hands at 11 p.m. and say we're done when we may have important things in front of us. I don't know how you do that.
But then you don't need to go
I think
on.
look, we've ended meetings with items sitting there because they weren't important enough and they could wait, but you can't make that determination here. Sometimes there's items that can wait and sometimes there aren't. And that's done on a nightly
But
thing.
an example, a leaf blower
Nellie, this is
is
part of
not,
it.
okay, but
We
can
have
you
everybody that
please let me
agrees.
say something?
No, because we're ready to call the vote on this.
Okay, just one second. For example, a leaf blower, that can, if that's the item, that thing can wait till the following month. And that's something, but no, you need to have the leaf blower, which only benefits a portion of this town, honestly, only maybe one portion of this
Nellie,
town.
I got to call for good and
And
welfare. I need to
honestly,
call the vote on this.
these are things that need to stop because you're having the last items. You don't need to get through the whole agenda. You can put items on to the next meeting. It doesn't need to be, I strongly disagree with you guys, but I think that it should be something that unless it's 100% very important that needs to stay on this agenda, then you extend it. But otherwise, for a leaf blower, come on. To have us here till 2 o'clock in the morning, that's what happened
Commissioner
a
Velasquez,
couple of
we're
months
calling the
ago.
vote. Madam
Okay.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Meischeid,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
No.
Commissioner Landsman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Good and welfare. Let's just get this in order. All right, before the speakers get up, I've had this issue. I just want to reiterate, good and welfare is for items that are not on the agenda. If you're going to get up and talk about items on the agenda, I'm going to have to ask you to please stick to the things that are not being discussed here tonight. If you're not aware of what's on the agenda, I will gently remind you, but please keep this to items that are not being discussed here on the agenda. Mr. Pablo Langesfeld, 3 minutes.
Good night, everybody. Pablo Langesfeld, 11310 Northwest, 53rd Lane, Doral, Florida, 33172, 78, I'm sorry. Just to have an update on the Surfside collapse investigation. It's been almost a year and 8 months, and we have no clue what's going on or what made the building fall down. So I'd like to know if you guys have any answer on the investigation, or what is the forensic engineer that hired by the town of Southside have done until today, if you guys can disclose anything. Or if we need to put pressure on the media so he may have access to the evidence. And another item will be if you guys have seen how the new building would look like, if you guys have met with the developer, any of you guys have met with the new developer? Do I need to expect an answer, or you just talk?
We're pausing the time, so we don't respond at the end of good and welfare, we'll respond to all the
okay.
questions. yeah.
Thank you, Shlomo.
No problem.
The other item will be 8th Street, if you guys were able to talk to DOT regarding the size of the memorial. My understanding is like there's some piece of the street that has to be given away for access, but we like to know the limits on that. So we can put the memorial as big as it can. And I guess that's it. Just very important for us is the Surfside investigation and memorial. Thank you again, and good night to all.
Thank you, Mr. Lagersfeld. If you see us writing here, it's not because we're not paying attention. We want to address that afterwards, so taking notes. Joel, team, help me out. Timmy. Mr. Timmy.
Joel Timmy, 9289 Abbott Avenue. So, kind of walking into this meeting and finding out what happened, kind of, I guess, sends a stronger message about what I came here to talk about. I was issued a zone violation by the zoning person about 6 weeks ago, and the particular citation I was issued came with it a fine of $250 a day if not resolved in 30 days. Obviously, it's in my best interest to take care of this. That's quite a hefty fine, $250 a day. So there's a timeline. That timeline is 30 days. I have spent a considerable amount of time making phone calls to voicemail boxes that are not personalized, so I think I'm leaving a message for somebody, but nobody ever calls me back, or sending emails to, people on staff that go completely unrecognized, including a note I sent to Andy Hyatt, which now I guess doesn't make any difference. But again, not even a response, not even an acknowledgement or a hello or we got your email or anything. So I've been really embarrassed by the function of what's going on in this town. So, last month I attended this meeting, and I was really surprised when Andy said, oh, I've worked at larger towns. We could absolutely take on these projects that you guys are just throwing out there. And I'm thinking like, well, that's not my experience. My experience is I can't even get them to return an email with an acknowledgement or with any small bit of information. With all this, with a threat of $250 a day if I don't take care of this problem. So, just really, I'm against a lot of these projects because I think it's just overwhelming the town, and I'm against them because I'm here for a long time, and I see the fabric of the town changing, and maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't know. The town is definitely changing, but the town needs to redo how it's doing its day-to-day business before you start taking on all these projects. I urge you to get your egos out of the way on these projects. Stick with the big things like, the undergrounding of the power lines. That's a huge project. The park, that's a huge project. Just get these other things, which are really your egos, I think, that are getting in the way. So I urge you to kind of look at what's going on in town. With a fresh start, we'll be able to do that. But I urge you to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the town because my experience has been seriously poor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Timmy. Wow, perfect timing. Mr. Kuslis?
George Kuslis, 9225 Collins Avenue. The first thing I really want to compliment, and I think it's Frank, but the covers of the Gazette are just amazing. Each month is a work of art. And if I'm missing somebody that should be getting attribution, but really fantastic. It belongs on a newsstand. You know what I mean? Throw all the other Ocean Drive magazine and all that off the shelf. Anyway, on to another topic, resiliency. So a month ago or so, you guys had passed an effort to, for the town and the town planner to basically kind of marshal our efforts at resiliency and understand where we are. And I wanted to reinforce really what's important there so that it doesn't lose momentum. And with our acting town manager, who's certainly well-versed in these issues, it's probably something he deals with every day. I'll just illustrate one small part of it, the seawalls. It's interesting that most people don't know whether the code says we have a minimum height for seawalls or maximum height for seawalls or what. When you actually look for it, you find out that it's ludicrously low. The best word that Walter Keller used for it, that, gee, that's stale. You know, it's from I don't know how many decades ago. Also, I don't think most people know where most of the seawalls in town are. And when queried as to, well, where should a particular seawall for a new property go? What is a good elevation? There was no good answer. What's interesting is that when you go to neighboring communities, North Bay Village, Bay Harbor, Miami Beach, they have looked into this and they have numbers. So we could copy their numbers. Their numbers are sufficiently higher than where we're at. But the point is, we need to know where we are and where our vulnerabilities are. Obviously, the other month there was a breach of one, and we need to see what we're going to do there. If the town ever upgrades the town seawall at street ends, to know what elevation to build it at. So this is one part of it, and so I'll back up a bit. There is a document that the town has sitting on a shelf somewhere. It's about 150 pages long. It's really a call to action for resiliency, but it doesn't tell you much. It says you need to be worried about sea level rise. You need to be worried. You need to make stuff higher, but it never says how high should stuff be. But in there, there's the kernel of an important expression where it says you need to do an assessment of what you have. That's the next phase. So this 150-page document really doesn't tell you much other than it alerts you to the problem. And what you talked about the other month is really the next phase. And I think you want to maintain that momentum and push it forward. And a town planner is the person that consolidates all this stuff. That's typically where it happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kouslis. Liana Salzauer?
Eliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. I'm going to talk about things that are not on the agenda. What's not on the agenda, tragically, is the memorial. The memorial is not on this agenda. Last month, you guys got $1 million in grants. This doesn't seem to be important. I was going for a walk the other day. On the agenda tonight, though, are nice street signs for the town. I'm not going to talk about that because that's on the agenda. I will say that the sign that's on 88th Street, the brown and yellow sign that says 98 points of light, is one of the ugliest signs I've ever seen, and it's embarrassing. The town should have a memorial by now. The town should be, this should be the #1 priority, is to not forget about the residents that perished, to not forget about the tragedy that happened. That means the top priority at the top of every agenda should be the investigation and should be the memorial. That should be the #1 thing, not the nonsense that's filling up the agenda right now, whether that be curb cuts or P&Z things or whatever else it is. That's the first thing I wanted to make tonight. Point of mind to make tonight. Second point, which I didn't anticipate making because I had no idea this was coming, is Andy's resignation, supposedly. Now, I know Andy. Andy's a good man.
Mrs. Salzauer, that was on today's agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
We literally voted on it
Okay.
as the first item.
Now,
So
without giving
please stick
any...
to items not on the agenda tonight.
You did not give
or
the
please
public...
have a seat.
You did not give the public an opportunity to have input on that, at all. There was no call for public discussion. There was no opportunity to put a card in to talk about that item.
Are you still talking about that item?
No, I'm asking you
It's
if there was...
done.
I thought...
Deal with the
Great.
town clerk afterwards.
Okay.
All right?
So
Don't waste our time. Thank you.
Moving on. If I had a friend that worked as a manager in a town, not going to say their name because this supposedly was on the agenda here, they wouldn't just up and leave right before a meeting, okay? The residents of this town need to know they deserve the truth about what's going on right now because this is quite frightening and quite upsetting, and Hector is a wonderful person.
Mrs. Salzauer, you are still talking about things that
I'm
are on
not.
today's agenda. Saying Mr. Town Manager instead of the Town Manager doesn't constitute, we're a
A
little
town
smarter
manager,
than
a
that.
hypothetical
Mrs.
town
Salzauer,
manager.
stick to items that
Okay.
are not on tonight's agenda or have a
Great.
seat.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to talk about what I witnessed. First of all, what I witnessed at the tourist board meeting, okay, on the video there. What I saw there was the biggest waste of resources possible. That money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, was just handed out like I don't even know. All right, like at a strip club with somebody, to giving those monies out to friends of people on the board for items that were marked up. If you think that you're sitting here, and I commend you for this, for questioning the amount of money that it costs to do a study, why don't you go to the tourist board meeting and watch what they're charging, what these people are coming in and saying they want for an event that should cost a couple $100s, okay? They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these events. The tourist money are real dollars that can be used for things like the park, for things like this tennis center, for other items that are gonna help residents and tourists. They're not to be used to enrich our friends and just have these one-night events that can cater to maybe 50 or 60 people or 100 people. That is an absolute breach of trust there. And I would urge you to watch those meetings. The finances are important.
Thank you, Mrs. Halsauer. Mr. Jacobson.
Ben Jacobson, 9455 Collins Avenue, apartment 309. Just wanted to welcome Hector here. It's really great to have you here. I've only worked with you on the one little project in the back of the building, and thank you for helping push that along and get everybody, especially our contractors, to do their proper jobs. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do for the town. I push this a lot, and, I really want this town to be more of a country club where you're not coming in and dealing with staff like, oh God, here comes the government, but it's like walking into the Four Seasons where what can we do for you? How can we help you? We have all these new buildings going up and all this money coming in, and we should, as residents, we should be treated the same as if we were in a beautiful hotel. Walking into Town Hall right now, you walk into the Berlin Wall. There's the doom gates of the steel doors that come down. It looks like a prison cell, and that is not the welcoming, inviting area. We used to have an old counter. It wasn't so inviting, but it wasn't so disinviting. There's a lot of easy, nice ways of having people come together. So I urge the new town manager, as Ronald Reagan once said, tear down that wall. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. These are all the cards I have. Is there anybody else that plans on speaking tonight? All right. At this point, I'm going to close public comment and give the commission 3 minutes to respond. Anybody want to start?
I'll go first. Thank you to the public for sharing your thoughts. I certainly, that was quick, will not try to respond to each and every item. I do encourage our mayor to talk about CTS if he has any updates on the memorial, which takes time. You can't just put a structure up and you're done. It's got to be done professionally. It's got to be done with the right emotion, and it takes time. So if the manager has an update for us, that would be great. But the one thing, a couple of things I'll say. One is change. The only constant in life is change. And yes, we've had a change tonight. Our town manager has left us. We now have an acting/interim town manager, Hector Gomez. And I'm glad he's here with us today. I'm glad he's capable of kind of carrying the torch. The only other thing I'll add to that is to our other staff that's here or not here, thank you for doing what you do. You don't look necessarily real happy. Maybe you're just tired. I'm not sure what it is, maybe the shock. But thank you for what you do on a daily basis so we can improve our service to our residents. I don't disagree that I've heard a number of people have issues with responsiveness, lack thereof. I'm going to have a chance to chat with Mr. Gomez, our acting town manager, but encourage him to ensure that we are as responsive as possible to every resident in our community so that they feel that they've got the service that they need and the answers that they need. So to our staff, thank you. Please smile. Please smile. Thank you. I'll make you laugh if I can. At least you're laughing. Come on, smile. Thank you for what you do, and we'll hope you'll continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Meischeid.
Thank you. Again, thank you again to our wonderful staff. I always appreciate you, and I think I tell you that as many times as I can. Regarding some of the comments tonight, with regard to CTS, are we getting any more updates from Alan Kirshheimer on the file, or is that over? That's finished? Or,
Ask the town manager. I don't know.
no, I'm sorry, through the mayor, to the town manager.
Through the mayor, to answer that specific question, And we will have Alan in here in January to give you, you know, person-to-person update. Additionally, we'll give him a call tomorrow as well, and just find out something in between in December, if I can give you an update prior to, and then of course have him here in January.
And thank you. And my other question would be, can we look into the follow-up for when residents call town hall and just get on a loop and don't get responses? And maybe I can address that to the town manager too. Can you look into that as well?
Commissioner, mic check. Commissioner, through the mayor, absolutely. We will reach out tomorrow. I do want to speak, you know, our staff is running around. We are very busy. And if for whatever reason something was dropped, we apologize. We will reach out tomorrow. I don't know the details of the situation, but at least it's worth a response back. I think at the minimum a conversation. So yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It's not the first time I heard that, so thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Velasquez?
Well, our residents know that if you don't get a response from the staff, you can always write to the commission. We will make sure that you get an answer, because every resident needs to get an answer. If you send an email, you should get an answer. If you call this town hall and you leave a message, you should get a call back. That's something that needs to happen all the time. We cannot ignore our residents. And if you don't, like I said, send us an email and we will definitely respond. I'm still a little in shock. That's why I don't really have a lot to say about all the other comments. I can't. It's very difficult to understand how things happen without sitting here with everybody and having a conversation and seeing why things happen. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and watching. Thank you, Hector, for looking into, I think you've addressed some of the questions that Pablo had, so definitely look into where we are with the investigation. Also have Alan here. I know the memorial is something we're not going to rush into. We're going to do it right, and I know that's something that has been discussed and is continually being discussed by this commission. Joel, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I know there's been some cross-communication issues. I haven't just heard this from you. I've heard this from others, that somebody's got written up by code, but they've applied for a permit, but they haven't gotten a response yet. They haven't been the permit issued. It does eventually get resolved. Not that anybody wants to go through this whole process. I know the town is hiring. The building official will tell you has many open positions and he is actively looking for people. But I do apologize for the town to go through this. What Commissioner Velasquez said, anybody here could always reach out to us. The commissioners are always responsive. If it's something we don't know about, we can always help look into for you. And I look forward to seeing more people at these meetings. I don't have much, as well, don't have too much to say about all this right now. Still trying to process everything going on.
Thank you. All right, so first of all, being a former elected official doesn't mean that the rules don't apply to you. I've announced them many times at the beginning of the meeting, by the beginning of public comment. Nobody has the right to come here and break the rules. Surfside investigation, where we're holding, Surfside is hired Alan Kilsheimer, but Alan Kilsheimer is a Corvette driving behind a bus. He can't access anything until NIST accesses it first and releases it to him. So as much as we'd like to rush him through, he doesn't have access to anything until they're done. So we're still at the pace of NIST, and that's where we're holding right now. This is not a Surfside thing. We don't have access to it. We don't have authority over it. We're waiting just like you. The town has spent millions of dollars to get their own answers, but again, we have to wait for NIST to finish their investigation pieces first before it moves to Allen. As far as the new building, again, nothing's come forward. 88th Street boundary for the limit, that is something that we've been trying to get. It's about time. Hopefully we will move forward and get those limitations so we know what the limitations are we're working with for the memorial. To speak to the resident with his violations, I'm sorry to hear that again. You can always reach out to elected officials, myself, pretty responsive when I get my emails. Hopefully, again, with, you know, some new management, we'll see a little bit of changes there. You have the Director of Code Compliance here on your way out. You can feel free to get her number or give her yours. I'm sure she's always been very responsive, never had an issue. Unfortunately, you got lost in the queue somewhere. As far as big projects, the town has been waiting for decades to get certain things done. We've been waiting 8 years for a park. We've been waiting, I think it's enough time that we wait and we get it going. For the resident that came here and sits here and says that the memorial is not important, that is complete hypocrisy, and it'd be laughable if it wasn't said. This is a former elected official who sat on this dais for 9 months and didn't plan anything, all right? So for her to come here and tell us that it's not important and that it's being ignored is ridiculous. There's nothing, excuse me, Mrs. Salazar, please do not talk. Please don't talk, all right? Nothing was done before this commission got in. We made everything a priority. There were 3 items. The entire memorial, the anniversary of the memorial was not being planned for 9 months while the same person who gets up and calls us and tells us we're dropping the ball was in office. So again, it would be very laughable if it wasn't said. Resident items are not a waste of time. When we sit here and discuss these things, they're not a waste of time. So to tell us we're wasting our time when we should be focused on memorial, we're here to govern the entire town. And the items that we address are very important to the residents and this town. Tourist tax dollars being wasted, again, it's earmarked for specific purposes, all right? We found loopholes, not loopholes, but we found purposes to be able to use it, to enjoy it with the residents, but it's earmarked for tourism. I suggest you learn the laws, and maybe you will have a little bit more information. And that's all I have to say on this. Thank you. Mr. Acting Town Manager, would you like to respond to anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Just really quick, sincerely, I do appreciate all the concerns placed forth. I believe some of these items do deserve an answer, and we'll be reaching out accordingly tomorrow with some of these answers. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to take a few-minute recess? I think it's been sitting here since 5:30. I appreciate a 10-minute recess. Can we get a motion?
Second.
Second.
Move to recess for 2 hours? Okay.
2 hours? Come back at 11. Let's come
10
back at
minutes.
11.
I'll second that. Move to extend 3 hours?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask everybody to please be seated. We are going to come back 10 minutes later. Commissioner, if we can get back, so we can get out before 11. You know, because 11 is a hard stop.
Mayor, may I call
All
the
right.
roll?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're returning at 8:52 PM. Roll call, Commissioner Landsman,
Present.
Commissioner Meischeid,
Present.
Commissioner Velasquez, absent. Vice Mayor Rose,
Here.
Mayor Danzinger,
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the agenda, item 5A. Madam Clerk, will you read that into the record, please?
Yes, Mayor. A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, incorporating decorative street signs and traffic control poles into the town's utility undergrounding project, selecting a design option for the decorative poles and base design, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. Item 5A.
All right, Mr. Town Manager, will you please introduce the item?
Mayor, absolutely. Mic check. Thank you very much. Mayor, absolutely. We brought forth something very similar. We brought you some initial options a few months back, and the commission tasked us bring back something that's more hard. We want to see hard proposals, hard costs, a more realistic situation of how much this is going to cost the town. And then as the staff started reviewing the options and seeing the current market and seeing the current projects we have present, we felt best to clearly bring forth to you the cost, the various proposals we've obtained. We've obtained a total of 3 proposals to give you a good, just hard proposals to look at and see what it costs to do this kind of project, and obviously the steps forth. But then, what would it be if we incorporate this into another project? Clearly, when you're installing something within town that's infrastructure, and we're about to embark in various infrastructure projects, is it a good time? And that's what we're bringing forth to you. We bring forth the recommendation of, we have a good ballpark cost of what it's going to cost. In fact, it's a good hard cost of what it's going to cost, which it's a cost that we could move with. But at the same time, bring you the recommendation that it may be best to incorporate this in such a way with a bigger utility, perhaps the utilities undergrounding project, and make it a part of that bigger project where, when you look at the economy of scales, when you incorporate such a smaller task into a bigger project, you may get a better pricing, as well as, you're kind of avoiding the wear and tear of having to pull signs and then reinstalling them as part of the process of, installing signs before major utility projects. So staff recommendation is just, to roll this smaller project into the bigger utilities undergrounding project. And in doing so, we're still accomplishing the task of, at some point, creating decorative street signs. Keep in mind, the utilities undergrounding project, the undergrounding of the wires, it's a phased project. So, it's going to be a wave. We're still sequencing if it's going to go from the south to north, north to south, hot pockets. So as we start transitioning these underground conversion areas over, we will start implementing those signs. So it's not like something where you would have to wait the whole 5 years of a utilities undergrounding project before we install signs, but rather a phased approach. And that was just a staff recommendation brought forth. But then again, we gave you the 3 hard numbers. The commission did ask and task the town administration, what is it going to cost? Bring us 3 quotes. We want to move forward. So that's what we presented in front of you. And if you have any questions, I defer for discussion.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're going to open up to public comment. Mrs. Salzauer. 2 minutes. Why do you like surprising me? Mrs. Salzauer, your time is ticking.
Again, the signs in town are really nice the way they are. There's nothing wrong with the way the signs are in town. I don't think that anyone wanted to live in Disney World when they moved here. These designs that I saw are not in keeping with the community flavor, I don't think. I think it's a very specific taste that would like that, like maybe a toddler. But I don't think that we should be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on something that is not something that's going to appeal to everybody. There was no public outreach on this. If you ask residents on the street, hey, what are the couple of things you'd like to see in town? Not a single person is going to say, I'd really love the signs to look more like Disneyland. In fact, the 2 signs that are out in front of Town Hall right now that look like that, I've gotten a couple comments from people going like, that looks so weird here. Like, it just doesn't, we're like the uptown beach town, and we're slick and we're modern and we're this and we're that, and then we want to have these sort of like, quaint Mr. Rogers neighborhood street signs that are, like I said, it's a matter of taste, and it's not for one person to be like, oh, well, let's make the whole town look like this. There are other problems in town where every couple of $100,000 adds up. You know, you're doing 10 different things for $200,000 each, you know, that's a lot of money. It's the aggregate effect, the aggregate impact on the finances of the town, all of these little things. I would use those for bigger ticket items. I would use that to focus on the things that are really important, like the flooding issue. You know, it's funny, we're spending money to try to work on the Abbott flooding and all those kinds of things, and yet we're talking about adding more concrete to the town, or the driveway thing that's gonna increase it 6 more feet on every property for the rain and the water. That creates more of a flooding problem. So we need to be spending the money on things that are really important, like infrastructure.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzar. Mr. Kouslos?
George Kouslis, 9225 Collins Avenue. I would take the design of the signs, curly cues, the Mr. Rogers neighborhood, all of that, take that out of the conversation for the moment, because it really can be anything. There's so much out there. But I think the recommendation of the acting town manager is spot on, that this is best part of the larger project for monetary reasons, but also when you think of everything that's going on, the infrastructure, not in the sense of pipes and asphalt, but the kind of the stuff that you populate, the furniture that populates the street lights that you were looking at a few weeks ago, these signs, all of that kind of should fit together into a cohesive thing, and working with your town planner and all that, you come up with an appearance for these new streets, which are going to be dramatically different once we get rid of the overhead lines. And you want the entire effort to have a cohesive design to it. So it's not so much a matter of what does the sign look like, whether it's script, and who cares? That can follow. But I think the important thing is the recommendation you heard from the acting town manager about consolidating it into the larger project, and I think that will allow it to be aesthetically and monetarily more effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kouslos. I don't have any other cards. Does anybody submit anything I looked over? All right, closing public comment. Being that this was my item brought to the commission, I'm gonna open it up, if that's all right, or at least talk a little bit. First of all, this item was brought forward because multiple residents asked for it. This wasn't something that I brought forward out of my own back pocket. This was a suggestion that a few residents came forward and said this would really change and spruce up the town, and it could make a big difference. And it seemed like low-hanging fruits. It's a smaller project to get forward. It wasn't a lot, but it would make a big difference in town. And that's really what we're here to do, right? We've got 2 years. We want to show that we've made a difference, a positive impact in town. Most of our capital projects are sitting here for the next 2 years. We're not going to see any fruits of our labor. It would be nice to get some things done in this town that change the entire demeanor and the way people walk down the street. The other thing I just want to touch on, and I know, Mr. Town Manager, this wasn't on your watch, but at the last commission meeting, this item was discussed. The town made the recommendation about incorporating it. The commission voted to move forward and come back with pricing. And yet, I'm looking at an agenda, and this is a resolution about incorporating it into the project, which is the exact opposite of what we asked for. This is a waste of attorney resources because she had to sit and draft this. This should have came back as a discussion item. If you want to continue pushing forward that this should be incorporated, that becomes as a discussion. To assume and come back with a resolution when it went against the commission vote is extremely disrespectful. And I hope moving forward, there's going to be better communication about these things, and these kinds of things don't happen. You know, the concept that they're trying to sell you to incorporate it, it's going to make more sense. First of all, again, we don't know how long the undergrounding is going to take. If it's going to happen, right now we're in design phase. This can come back at 60, 80 million, and we have to go back to the residents. We're currently finding out there's items in the undergrounding that weren't discussed or disclosed previously. For example, people with more expensive homes are paying more for this. The infrastructure is going to be installed in the right-of-way, not in the street, as previously mentioned. There's a lot of information that's coming out that has to go back to the residents. To sit and hold back on all our projects because we're waiting for undergrounding seems, it seems that this is going to stop production and productivity especially if you look in this item, it says the cost is $239,611. But if we add it to the undergrounding, there's an additional $239,043 that's being requested for the project. So what money are we saving? We're saving $500? Is that what we're getting? Because you're asking for this budget to get put into the undergrounding. It's not like it came free with it. So again, I mean, this commission has asked for this item to be moved forward. It was presumptive to go ahead and throw this as a resolution when the town was specifically directed to come back with pricing, not to make assumptions and waste our town attorney's time, which costs us and the residents money. But again, I don't see positivity to it when you're asking for an addition to our budget, which is almost the same amount as the project in the first place.
Mr. Mayor, well, don't want to speak out of place. Good, okay. Mr. Mayor, your points are taken. Fortunately, we got 3 hard proposals that qualifies to extend as a procurement. You know, it's within, I believe the lowest price and the hardest number was for the whole project is $239K with a specific company, of which $50K is just contingent for the labor to be used, which could be through one of our current service providers, or it can be done in-house, but the contingency is there for the labor services. If there's, you know, if it's the will of the commission to bring this forth as an action item now, it's there, created in such a way that it could be done so. But I would agree, a resolution is written in a certain way, and it was voted on a certain way. So that's just for your discussion and how you wish to proceed as a team.
Again, there's 2 items. This was skewed in a way to already tell the commissioners we're doing this as part of undergrounding, as opposed to coming forward with a discussion. We've heard this at the last meeting. It was proposed, and it was knocked down for the same reasons, because we don't know how long undergrounding is going to take, and we want to do something nice for the town. So again, I don't know where the commission sits at this point. I would like to do something so we can walk away in 2 years and look around the town and see a change, because undergrounding is not happening in 2 years. If at all, and it would be nice to get something done that actually changes the whole environment and the look of this town.
Mayor, just a quick point on the matter. You know, we've seen what other municipalities have done, and we're proposing to change 2 types of signs, and that is a stop sign with a street name on it, as well as your typical stop signs alone. Other municipalities have left the stop signs alone in a U channel, which is your traditional U-shaped pole, and have just changed the stop sign that has the street names. That is a way to scale down this project, implement something forth with the major implementation, because if you look at it, for every intersection, you have 4 stops and just 1 stop of a street name. Perhaps a scaled down version of this implementation is something to be considered. It's something other municipalities have done. They would definitely streamline the county process, because getting approval for 4 stop signs, it's a lot harder than just for 1, and with the major implementation of the underground utilities. Again, these are just points of thoughts.
So at the last meeting, you came back with a price. We asked you to get some more, and I think we got this down already. So I think, does the commission want to proceed? Are they going to wait and basically push this off and kick it to the next 3-4 years? Or do we want to move forward and get something done and changed in this town? I think that's where, we've asked the town to come back with additional pricing. They have. Is this something we're still interested in moving forward with or not? So, again, I'd like to get the input of the commission here on that.
There's no motion on the table right now, correct? There's nothing. Discussion? Discussion, yes.
Well, I guess I'll put a motion so we're all clear. Again, the motion would be to move forward with the project at, I guess, the ACP, which would be the lowest one, with the design to be determined. At least we know what we're discussing now.
I'll second that so we can have discussion, yes.
Mayor, can you repeat that motion into the mic, please?
Probably not. To move forward with the project, to move forward with the project at the cost, with the bidder. See, now I can't remember it. With the lowest bidder, provided they're recommended, providing for a design to be determined. Do we have, by the way, do we have a time frame on this anyways? Like,
As of right now, this would be lead time items. So if you're procuring certain types of poles that need to go into fabrication, it is foreseen that if this is foreseen based on communications and discussions, you're looking at around 5 to 6 months before the influx of all the material comes in. Within that time, we would finalize through administration, our recommendation is through administration, allow administration to finalize the design for the street names and avenues and the streets, just a decorative feature. That way, it just moves the project forward, but again, we have 5 months from the lead time. So what you would in essence be doing is allowing us to procure the hard material, which is the poles, bases, the frames. At the end of the day, whatever design is picked, it's just printed on design onto an existing aluminum panel. So
What do you
that's why
think
you have,
installation's gonna do?
excuse me?
How long do you think installation's gonna take?
Installation, we will have to evaluate if we decide to do it internally based on how our resources look at that time, or if we go with an existing vendor. What I mean by existing vendor is when we bought certain types of contracts, that are currently contracted with the town, we bought hourly rates, skilled labor hourly rates, equipment hourly rates. So we have a pool of equipment to pull from. For example, the SFM services contract allows us to tap into a schedule of value, which has hourly rates for skilled laborers, which would be used for something like this. It would definitely come back forth as an authorization to expend, to issue an X, whichever task to whichever firm we go with, but that's to be determined. These are our options on the table.
There's no-
Installation, how long would it take? Based on what I would assume it probably, to do this properly, and if it's approved as a whole, you're probably looking at 1.5 to 2 months.
I'll start off discussion. It's astonishing, even if we approve it now, it's gonna be 8 months down the road at best. Never goes according to plan, so it's 10 months, 12 months, that's a year before we get street signs. So to punt on things does not accomplish my objective, our objective of making things happen for the town. Yes, there's some money invested in this. We've appropriated it. We should go forward with this. What I'd like to see is perhaps at the next meeting in January, the potential designs so that we have some options to choose between that may look different, not necessarily the way that they're outlined here, but what options we have. So again, even going forward now, it's going to take 8, 10, 12 months.
Well,
so
you jump in, it went 5 to 6 plus 1.5 to 2. We're at 8 max, not.
That's 8 minimum. That's where it starts.
8 max, the minimum would be 6.5.
Again, construction never goes according to plan. Mr. Rose can verify that. So yes, I think we should move forward with this. But yes, I'd like to see some designs that give us some options that may look more appropriate for the town than perhaps what's indicated here in the package.
At this point, I feel like it's a little premature, knowing that the underground is coming and that I think we should wait till after the undergrounding at this point and save the 240,000 until that time. I think we have a lot of great things that we've accomplished, such as the lights on the beach path, the top lot, the exercise equipment at the beach ends. I think people can see we've done a lot, but at this point, I would recommend doing it after the undergrounding.
Thank you, Commissioner Meischeid. I agree with you 100% on that. I think this is something that, because, and just a quick question to Hector, would you have to remove these light poles? I'm sorry, not light poles. What am I talking about? Stop signs and street signs when you do the undergrounding?
Through the mayor, the undergrounding project will require excavation on the right-of-way. Where within the right-of-way, it's being coordinated right now. These signs are within the right-of-way, so the conflict does exist. The extent of the conflict, it is to be determined. It's at this time, I do not have a hard count.
Okay.
I can tell you we're proposing 284 signs to be replaced, and that's all of the traffic control signs that are throughout town.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Based on that alone, I mean, to have to take these signs out, yes, they look beautiful, and they're gonna look beautiful when they get put in at the right moment. I think just moving forward with things just because you want to show that things are getting done, things do get done. Things take time. This is government. If it was our private money, things would get done much quicker. But it's not. And unfortunately, this is how government works. Look, it took us more than 2 years to get our park. And 10 years of other people talking about it and putting lines of the park in the budget for next year and 5 years and 10 years. And finally, we came in and put this to motion, and it's taken more than 2 years. And on Sunday, we have the beautiful fortune to be able to say, we're getting this done now, finally. It's to that stage that they're gonna put a shovel in this thing and take out all that ugly stuff and bring this park to this century. So that's a huge accomplishment, not just for the previous commission, but for this commission as well. And our names are gonna go on this plaque. These are things that are important. The Abbott Avenue drainage may not have happened in this commission, but it's going to get done in this commission. And people will know that. The tennis park, the tennis building that Jeff has brought to the commission, I think is a great idea. These are things that, and that project alone is going to take more than 2 years, but it's going to get done. Because you put these things, it takes time. Unfortunately, little things like the tot lot, according to our briefing this morning, Andy said that it was going to get done by April. So it starts in January, gets done in April. This is a wonderful thing. You have that to show, and things that residents have been asking for a long time. I remember seeing on Nextdoor all the time residents talking about those mulch things on the floor, that the kids get splinters, a whole bunch of mosquitoes, many different situations, and we're getting that done. So to push things ahead of time is not the right decision to make, and it's not the most fiscally responsible decision to make either. I urge you, please, to reconsider your position and allow this to go through with the undergrounding, as you will have a whole bunch of these stop signs, street signs thrown all over town, and who's going to store this stuff? We don't even have space here to store our own stuff, let alone 200 signs that are going to go where during the time that we're restoring this town back to after the undergrounding. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I have spoken with residents as well. They actually have brought up to me about updating the signs. However, going through this, my concern is kind of the same with the installation, reinstallation costs. You're basically going to be paying 3 times, it's $43,000 the first time to install it, $43,000 to take it out, $43,000 to put it back in, and you got to store it somewhere it's going to get damaged. So
Point of information.
Okay.
The cost for installation of the signs and removal is already in the price package, because we have to take out the signs that exist currently and put them back in. This has all been calculated into the undergrounding project, or is being calculated.
Right.
There are
Correct.
current signs that still have to be removed and installed.
I'm talking about the new signs. So you're gonna put in a new sign. We pay to uninstall and put in a new sign. We're good. Now we're gonna do undergrounding. You're gonna pay to uninstall it, store it somewhere. It's probably gonna get damaged and reinstall it. So you're gonna pay 2 more times. One time to uninstall it, an extra time then to reinstall it. So you're paying 3 times for the same thing.
You're paying twice instead
3.
of once.
Uninstall and reinstall.
Okay, so
And then you got to
uninstall,
store it, it's going to
reinstall.
get damaged. So that's my concern. And I guess the bigger conversation, because you mentioned the undergrounding, the 60 to 80 million. I mean, I think we should have the conversation. I think the voters spoke. I know there's some concerns with the undergrounding. I'm personally still for it. I want to move forward with it. I'm okay with waiting to this till undergrounding, because I know we are doing undergrounding. If it came back at $80 million, I think we would have the conversation. $60 million, can we afford it? Because I know we've only approved up to $40 million for a bond, so can we cover the extra 20? The answer is either a yes or no. But, I think we're
no.
down.
If we look at our budget.
Yeah, but I think we're doing the undergrounding. I think most of us here feel that we are doing the undergrounding, so I haven't heard anything differently that we're not doing it, so I'm okay with waiting for this until we do the undergrounding, because I still see the undergrounding happen. We have a directional boring. If there's gonna be some right-of-ways being removed and torn up, so be it. They're getting grass back. We can have a greater conversation about undergrounding maybe at the next month or so, but I mean, I see all this, for me personally, it's gonna happen. I actually like the signs. I think they're a good thing, but we're gonna have to then, I don't even think this is getting done, to be honest. It would be very tight to get done, even under this commission. And we'd have to still select a sign, which would be the next meeting, and I don't know if this is even, right now we're just saying Hector to go look for it, but then we're gonna have to look for it again. We may not all like it the next time, so really, we're looking at least a year at best. So it's gonna be even tight to get it in before, I know you wanted the next election. I see it being very tight on time even for that happening. So financially, it makes sense, and I see we're doing the undergrounding. If we're not doing the undergrounding project, which I still think we are, then we can have a different conversation about the street signs. So I'm in support of what staff said on waiting for this, just because I know what happens during construction and what's going to get damaged, like Commissioner Landsman's car.
Can we call the vote?
Town clerk, can we call the vote?
Commissioner Landsman?
Please reiterate the motion.
I have the motion was to move forward with the project at the lowest bidder, providing for design to be determined, and then you added the possibility of returning with designs and graphs in January.
I'm going to reverse my course and say no.
Commissioner Meischeid?
No.
Commissioner Velasquez?
No.
Vice Mayor Rose?
No.
Mayor Danzinger?
So I appreciate everybody's input, but I'm gonna stick with my thing. I still would like to get this done, but yes.
Your motion fails.
The way you say it like that. Yeah, so we would need a motion.
Can I
Let me
make
just-
that motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to move this forward with the staff recommendations of incorporating this design during undergrounding. Is that the correct?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meischeid?
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes. My God, that's my first motion this time.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to 5B. Let me get to the town. Is there a resolution, or do I just bring it in? Sorry? All right, listen to Vice Mayor, but we'll go forward. This is a request for the key to the town of Surfside brick request. This is for the commission to approve awarding former Mayor, Miami-Dade County Commissioner Sally Hayman, a key to the town of Surfside and a brick to be placed at the community center in honor of her 20 years of service to our community. For those that don't know, she just recently retired after 20 years of service to, was a district, what's her district? I think 4, which includes, yeah, it is District 4, which includes Surfside. Just to give you the background, Commissioner Sally Hayman served as the Florida House of Representatives for 8 years, after which she was elected Commissioner of Miami-Dade County, Florida District 4, which includes Surfside. During her 20 years of service with the county, Commissioner Sally Hayman championed legislation, secured funding for various causes which sought to help Surfside and the many municipalities in her district. It's only fitting that the Commissioner Hayman be awarded the key to the town of Surfside and a brick at our community center as a token of appreciation for her 20 years of dedicated service to our community. I could say I've known her for a bit. She's been a valuable resource because of her experience. This is somebody who could have easily gone on to state, to federal, whatever it is. She's had a very successful career, but it chose to stay in the county local because she enjoyed the cities. And she's a very special person, and I hope the commission moves forward with this item.
I'll make a motion to approve this request.
Second?
Anybody against it? No. All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Oops, sorry, yes.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Meischeid?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danzinger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Moving on to, where are we all day? I'm sorry. Item 7A. Nelly, we might be done before 11. Look at that. This is what happens when you have meetings at 5:30 to get some of the stuff out beforehand. All right.
Not if he's long-winded like Fred.
Oh. Wow. Wow. All right.
Mayor, if there's no comments on item 7A, the
Yeah,
commission could make a
I guess
motion to
before
approve.
we motion to approve it, is there any comments? I personally have, so let's not make any motions yet. Town manager's report, did everybody read it? All right, so I'm actually surprised nobody has any comments considering all the feedback we've been getting about the downstairs lobby. I'm gonna read the project where it says, "This is a new modern front lobby designed that it is open and welcoming, creating a positive first impression for our customers." That is how project was sold to the commission, and that's what we approved on. The town lobby used to be one big open counter for the residents to come in and speak to the employees. During COVID, a big glass was installed, but it was still open. Now we have a wall with 6 prison shutters over there, and this looks anything but welcoming to the town. I think this is disgraceful. I don't know how this went through. Frankly, I'm embarrassed for people to see this. And I would like to ask our new manager to maybe open that up a bit, to try to open up the area the way it was presented to this commission. Yep.
I guess on this one, it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Because honestly, I don't think it's hideous. I think it's much more welcoming than what we had before, where you had staff all the way over there, where now you're gonna have it here in front of us. The door is not closed while our residents are standing at the window. That gate is only for when it's not in operation. So they close the door when they're not there. They open it when they're there. You have the staff member right in front of the window. I don't see how this is not inviting versus having someone all the way over there almost shouting at you because they don't want to get up to come all the way over here to come talk to residents. In all reality, I think it was more inviting. That you may not like the gate. Maybe we could put a different kind of gate that has some holes in it, or take the gate out completely. I mean, there's police in the lobby all the time, so there's cameras all over the place. I don't see anybody coming in here and stealing anything. Prior to the pandemic, there was no glass there. So if the issue is the gate, then just take the gate out. And that's it, leave the hole open, and you have the staff member standing or sitting right in front of you versus, like I said, having them all the way in the back.
Commissioner, saying that a wall and a gate is not inviting and having people sitting there is not mutually exclusive. The way this project was presented to us was this was going to be open like a bank, where you walk in, there's somebody sitting at the teller. This is not open, doesn't look like a bank, doesn't look friendly or inviting. If you like the wall and the way we closed it off to the residents, that's fine, but the goal is to have people sitting at a counter, working at a workstation, so when residents come in, there's a wall. It's uninviting. When you put up a wall, that's a gate, that's a fence, you've taken something that was open and added a wall to it. That's not inviting, and again, the item that came forward to us was to make it more welcoming, all right? To open it up. And I'm going to read this again. This is a new modern front lobby design that is open and welcoming. Which part of that is more opening and welcoming than what was there before? Creating a positive first impression. So yes, we can put lipstick on a pig. We can make a nice little banner over steel grates that make it look like Brooklyn. But it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look inviting. It looks like a corporate office. It doesn't look like a friendly small town environment where you walk in, you see a smiling face, because they're behind a glass, they're behind a window.
What they're doing is they're lifting the gate, and now
I understand that, Commissioner, but you still have a wall. You still have a wall.
But it's partitioned, so each person has their role in that particular spot.
Okay, so I've heard your input on it.
But you're bringing people forward. You're not taking them back.
All right. I've heard your opinion on it. Let's move on.
So then move on.
So I have a couple different thoughts about it. One, I think there was the way the office was done was to make the lobby a little bit smaller to create more office space, because I know we're limited in this town on office space, so that I know that was one of it. One of the reasons. Number two, I know Mr. McGinnis has open positions to fill, and I know those spots are gonna be filled with people there for customer service, not just for permit clerks, but for also residents to ask other questions in town, not like a help desk, but probably somebody for a customer service. Now, the way the shutters look, especially with they're down, I do have a concern of them, especially where the roll-up is on the outside. Potentially, there was two options. I think they could have flipped it and put the roll-up on the inside so it faced staff, and then it would have looked a little bit more welcoming. Number two, it could have been cheaper to just build a soffit around now the shutter. I'll talk to McGinnis or Hector about that, but you could basically build a soffit to cover it, so you wouldn't be seeing that roll-up shutter, and that would be, but I definitely agree, when you come in, and that's the first thing you see, especially when it's closed, it's definitely not inviting, so if there's a way to either soffit it or flip it, would give her a much warmer feel, because we want residents, people to walk in and to feel welcomed. The colors aren't my choices, but it is what it is. I don't think we have a super modern building, so I don't think you could have went all bright white or gray. I just don't think it would have matched the rest of the building. I would have liked it. I just don't think it would have matched the rest of the building. But I think if somehow you could either soften it or hide it, I just think, especially now when it's closed, it obviously doesn't feel welcoming right now when anybody walks into the lobby. So I don't know which of those two, that's just my 2 cents. If there's some other way to make it feel, I know we have the glass on the side, so when you obviously look by the stairs, you look between the police department, there's a lot of glass, which I think is very welcoming and bright and open. And I know it created a lot more office space, but that's just my opinion on, I don't know how we create that more inviting, warm feel. I mean, when it's down at nighttime, I don't think it really matters. I think it's more during the day. You want it to be bright and light, and I know we've changed the lights. I've seen the lights when they're on in there because I've walked through it, but I definitely agree with you. When you first walk in the door, especially right now, it doesn't give a warm, happy feel coming into town.
So if I may, again, the back is beautiful. The new office space for new personnel is beautiful. The glass, the conference room's great. But this project was presented to us not as a staff alteration, but this was supposed to be something to make the residents feel more at home and more comfortable. And we shouldn't have to settle for a wall and steel shutters, because especially when we had an open door concept before. We had an open counter. We had it all open. You saw everyone. Should they have been working at the counter? Absolutely. When somebody comes in, there should be somebody there. But what we got instead of an opening, and again, the back is great, and staff deserves it, but you need to give the residents something. That's the way it was presented to us. That's what we voted on. That's what we approved. And I'm pretty sure if everybody closed their eyes and imagined what they pictured when they were presented, it would have been an open, like a bank system, a small bank where you walk in, there's a wood teller, there's divots, but it's an open concept and somebody's there to greet you, not a wall with shutters.
No, Mr. Mayor, I know we previously did have a shutter. It's the same thing. It was just one open counter, but you did not see definitely
The
the
shutter
top
was behind, no. The
You didn't
shutters,
see the shutter. Yeah.
and again, the windows, you took something that was open, told us you're gonna make it more welcoming and shut it, because now you have 5 little windows and you have walls.
When I walk in, and even for people coming into these meetings at night, you're going to see those shutters. I really, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzy feeling of friendly. It doesn't feel open. It feels really cramped, and I feel like we lost space. It's doesn't seem modern to me. I'm having a problem with the gray shutters, and it just wasn't what I thought was explained to us either.
I've come into town many times, obviously during construction, they're down. I've not seen the way it will look when the shutters are raised. I don't know what that will look like. So, but having them down, it does look like a prison. Like put the inmates away, close the gate. It looks harsh the way it looks right now. But again, when it's open, if there's, and I don't know what flexibility our building department has to change the design. I hope there is some flexibility. If you can put the rolling drawer behind, so it's not quite so visible, because it does look quite oppressive in your face. But I do agree that the size with the glass, you can see in what's happening. And just one more piece that's not part of the construction, as Mr. McGinnis said at one point, he's going to expect his staff to be welcoming and available and interested and engaged. And at that window, I've seen our town, some of our employees, you've got to shout, hey, excuse me, you're back to help. And they aren't doing anything with customer service. This will not necessarily change their perspective, but I hope that Mr. McGinnis can change your perspective on being there, being available, help our residents get their work done, whatever it might be, building, et cetera. But again, if there are some changes that we can make to make it look more welcoming, I would concur with that.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much. And I'll have Jim speak in a minute now. We've heard some of these comments prior to this meeting. We have, we're aware. I don't think the dream is fully lost. I think we've accomplished a few things here. We bring the staff forward. So we've definitely acknowledged, subconsciously, we've addressed that, where now the staff is there at the forefront to address. We're bringing the building official forward. Everyone is there. The transparency is there. Some of these comments are going to be addressed through just, we are aware, for example, the garage doors, I concur, but the garage doors can be on the outside just as much as the inside. So, through some minor tweaking, it's going to have to occur through the inside. We will go ahead and move the garage doors towards the inside. We don't want to just lose the concept now and just, go ahead and demolish a wall and start over. We want to get the administrative functions operating at full capacity. We have building department positions we want to fill. We've kind of hold off on a few just because we don't have anywhere right now. Right now we're kind of working where we have the building department in 2 offices. They're working out of the dispatch location. We want to get them out of there because we want our building department to be as efficient as possible already with the tools we've kind of prepped them for. With that said, should we reevaluate? And it sounds like the main concerns are that front wall. It seems like that front wall, it's just kind of, it creates structure, it brings staff forefront, but is it as friendly as it could be? That's what we're going to evaluate and bring forth. I would like for Jim just to speak on the project a little bit, just to show how we got to here, and just things that can be addressed through just simple drywall modifications and some of the stuff that we're currently working on to just make it a little bit friendlier for the opening, get the staff in there working at full capacity, and then making the changes as we go. Jim, please.
Mayor, may I? Thank you, Jim McGinnis, building official, floodplain manager, resident. Totally agree. The shutters
LEED
do not.
certified.
Yes, sir. The shutters don't make it at all. They turn what would be a warm and welcoming, if we had glass there instead, environment into a harsh environment. It's just way too industrial. Coming into it, we wanted, the concept was a beach, surfside, soft type of a feel. Notice the tiles, sand, blues, and colors like that. And so what the doors do is totally destroy that ambiance. Totally agree. At the same time, there's concern on the administrative and police levels of security. People jumping to counters and coming in and raising havoc, especially with all the public violence that's going out there in the public sector. So how to balance security versus, feel. So we are currently pricing out moving those. The bad part is the box, that terrible box, into the inside face of the wall, so that staff sees it and can operate it, but when it's open, you won't see the shutters at all. When it's open, we're open for business. It'll be completely open, no glass, anything. And with our staff right there, ready to serve people, not, hey, I'm over here. When I first came here for my interview, it took 12 to 15 minutes for me to get acknowledged at the counter. And I'm thinking, I really want to change that one day. Well, I'm getting ready to, right now, because we're going to have staff right there that can't escape the customers. I want people that want to engage people. How may I help you? Welcoming. Ben's comments are perfect. I totally agree that I didn't want to go shutters. I wanted to go glass, but security. So we need a balance there. And right now, our plans are subject to review by town administration and you. And so we hear you, and I've got pricing on moving that apparatus inside. So when we're up for business, you don't even see any metal except those nice modern metal lights, which I happen to love. But in any case, so that's our plan for that. And okay, Jeff,
I'd love to see the partitions of the wall disappear because it's just.
The reason why they're there, those are actual structural columns. And in order to pick up floor space, we moved it out. Those are wraps around the structural columns. I believe if we can achieve what we want to achieve, once we get those rolling door cabinets, the industrial look, turned around and moved on the inside, so when we're open for business, you don't even see it. I think we'll achieve it. I really do.
I'm sorry, please, you need to be recognized.
Any further questions?
Yeah. I want to hear the comments moving forward. Commissioner?
My only thought really quick was that, how we have the vacant stores, like we have the wraps, like where it's Visit Surfside or something like that? We could add something on top of the shutter, more welcoming, if we paint the wall, something Well, there's
We-
Surfside,
Keep in
something-
mind, it's still in a rough, it's not complete.
No, I know. I'm just thinking that when it's down, so it's just not a metal shutter, we can
Yeah.
put a print on
And
it.
Frank has a design going for
Look at that.
making it much more, before we thought about moving the shutter boxes to the back, let's just dress them up and use them for a way to communicate. We're gonna have a TV over here to have a role on floodplain education and help our CRS, community service, I've designed a TV to go up in there to educate people. And so Frank is a master. I mean, he does a good job, great job with the Gazette. You should see what he's got planned for the front. So it's just roughed in now, but I would recommend moving those big boxes to the inside.
All right, definitely moving the boxes, but
Okay.
I don't, what sort of columns, because there was no columns there before, were there?
Yes, but they're out in the middle of the lobby.
They're
What
out
we
in the
did is we needed more office space. And so, and we didn't need that giant lobby. We don't want people waiting in long lines. We want people either doing it online, not waiting in line, and the people that need to come in, we get served quickly so that there's not 5 people deep at the counters. So we moved it out to increase office space for staff. And we had to in order to do so, we had to wrap the columns out front, the structural columns, we had to have them. We can make it look great. It's still roughed in. Please don't give up on us yet.
If I can make a recommendation, I don't know what countering is going on those windowsills, but if it extends outward into the lobby, it's now inviting people in as opposed to if it's flush to the wall or something like
Yeah,
that. So if we can push that out a bit.
Yeah, it is. It's coming out at least 6 inches. It's going to be a beautiful quartz countertop, really fine, like some of the homes we're building in Surfside now. It's going to be very Surfside. Just give it a little bit more time. We still got a lot of dust. We're still under the pardon our
We've
dust
pardoned our
mode.
dust for a while, yes.
Yes,
But
that's
we-
right.
It's
Okay.
nice to see that the trash was moved out, so that means we're coming into an end on this thing, so.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Commissioner.
No, I just want to say, let's give this a chance. Your comments were great ideas, the counter and stuff like that, what Jim mentioned, what Jeff mentioned. I think we should give this up an opportunity, and then things can get tweaked as time goes by. And the main thing is, like they said, the staff has been moved to the front of the operation, where it is much more welcoming and people are right there in front of you versus having to shout out to the other side of the room.
So
That's
we've
all.
heard that again, staff is on the same page as us. They realize that the shutters are an issue. I grew up in Brooklyn, I don't need flashbacks. It sounds like we're on top of this, so we don't have to keep beating a dead horse, I think, on this.
Mayor, truthfully, just one last thought. Well, let's open and let's evaluate, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Mr. Kousos, you want to speak on this item? 7A, this covers everything, and I still got more stuff, so.
9225 Collins Avenue. As your, I guess, resident architect, I'd like to just say that the problem with your commentary, Mayor, was that you were too nice. It's an abomination downstairs. It is exactly the way you described it. There's absolutely nothing about it that is welcoming. It should be the best face this town puts forward. It should be like this dais is up here. I mean, you come in here and this makes a statement about what this room is and about the business you conduct. I'm not saying it should look like that, but it is the first thing you see when you come into this town, and what's there is horrible. And you could go on, I think some of the solutions you talk about, extending the counter out, things like that, are helpful, and it sounds like they're going to happen, but that's not the whole picture. That wall just needs complete rethinking. I like the idea of putting the staff up closer. Was it wise to push it out that far? I mean, you have the column line you had to deal with. But where was the architect in the room when this was actually thought out? It doesn't look like there was one.
Like
You have the
volunteering,
beautiful,
or-
you have the beautiful stair. I mean, that's a real mid-century signature of this building over here. And now it's like hemmed in. The stair floats. And now it's like constrained in a straitjacket because of this thing. Okay, you got a glass wall there. There's just a lot going on here, and I think the way the mayor characterized it is exactly right. It's just not right, and you could do a little stuff here and there. You could move the shutters. It's not going to make that big a deal. You could dress up the shutters. That just calls attention to the shutters. Okay, they won't no longer be a steel gray. They'll have a turtle on them. Big deal. So I think it needs rethinking. It should be big and open. Maybe the columns interrupt it because you're not getting rid of the columns. But just, this is the time to do it. Because once it's done, you're really not going to touch it for a long time. It'll be what's the name of your son, Commissioner Rhodes? It'll be his commission that will change it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kousas. Mrs. Salzauer.
Eliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. What you're finding out the hard way is exactly why you don't rush projects. Exactly why government is supposed to move slowly, because all of these things, nothing is just do this and make it happen, and then you come back and it's done. You have to take your time with these things. You yourself said tonight that you've been in this building working here every day for 8 or 9 months, every day. That is in the lobby of this building. So it is a little bit hard to comprehend why it's a surprise now to you and to the commission that it doesn't look anything like what you asked it to look like or what you thought it was going to look like. And again, I think that what happened is you signed away for that one, and then you moved right ahead to the next 20 items on your agenda and said, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you can't possibly expect every single thing to come out properly if you don't take the time to nurture it. It's like children. If you have 30 children, you can't put the time and effort into it. Okay, you have to take your time with each project and make sure that it actually is what you envisioned. Like for example, with these signs that you talked about before, you can't just say, make the signs look nice, and then when they put them up, you go, oh my God, they're horrifying. With this lobby, take each project slowly. There is not a hurry. Residents are not gonna forget. They're gonna walk into the lobby. When Champlain collapsed, the center of this lobby downstairs, that was the heart of that operation. That was where all the residents came going, my God, what's going on? That was the emergency operations center. Town hall has to be able to function where there's space. It's not just for staff to be able to have more office space. It's not just for processing building permits. There are other things that happen in town hall, and there has to be room for that, and it does have to be inviting, and it should reflect the town. So if it doesn't reflect the town, then don't rush it through and make it reflect the town. But see this as an example. And I remember last time at the meeting where you approved these exercise equipment things and you even said, I don't really like all of them, but I don't want to hold it up, so let's just do it. Okay? Not let's just do it. Do it right.
Thank you. Jim, I'm pretty sure you can confirm this project was in the works from the previous commission, because I remember seeing finished plans when I walked in. But we approved it, but it's been sitting there waiting. We budgeted, but it's been approved and pushed forward by the previous commission. So to sit here and say we're rushing things is, again, misinformation. Mr. Jacobson.
Ben Jacobson, 9455 Collins, apartment 309. So I addressed this a little bit earlier today, and the area down there that does need to be obviously inviting and welcoming. I'm never going to be okay with walking in and seeing a wall. The idea of having the employees work at the desk is a great idea. You should never walk in and have everybody in the back of the room. But what happens now? You walk up to the counter, you go to the first counter, no one's there, and you go to the second counter, no one's there. And by the time you get to the sixth counter, you realize no one's there, and there's no one even to scream to because you're looking at a solid wall or a heavy level of glass. I mean, this is inside of a police station. The fact that we're going to have to do thick glass and protection like this is a regular area is absurd. We're in a police station. We should feel that it's safe there. The town employees should feel that they're safe there, and the thing should be as open as possible. And if we have pillars and things that we can't move, then obviously, maybe it's two windows, and two windows, or maybe we can get 3, 3, 3. I'm not sure the configuration, but the idea is this thing should be as open as possible, and maybe even have someone, a break in the counter where people can walk out and welcome people in. A nice little popcorn machine, some water, make it smell nice, make it smell friendly, and have people there. But the staff is not going to all of a sudden appear at the counter because that's a new position. They will disappear into the back the same as anywhere else unless they're getting that direction that this is your post. You cannot leave it until someone relieves you. And that goes back to management. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. But again, that was something we touched on. I know security was brought up. Ben and myself, we sit on the Shul Security Committee, and we deal with this also. How do you make it an inviting place and secure it? Again, the hopes is that the police station is right there. You have an officer at the desk watching. You can't have both. You can't secure it and make it open and friendly. So we need to find that balance. But again, the priority was to make it open and friendly. Hopefully we don't. I don't think we've had any crazy people run into town and jump over the counter yet. The counter was open for many, many years, I don't know. But again, we can discuss this. We're going to move on from that. Again, to pick on the building department, Jim, if you don't mind. Online permitting platform. You and I spoke last month. I asked you what the holdup is. I was told 2 weeks. We're 4 weeks later and we still don't have a platform. I'm curious why we didn't go. I was told that we have a financial platform being customized. Again, for those that don't know, I was in technology, all right? I built tech for prisons across 38 different states with multiple different requirements by each state and each county and each prison, and we rolled out software in 2 weeks. We have many solutions like Citizen Serve that serves many, many other counties specifically for permitting, applying for permits, tracking, and asking and bringing on inspectors, which is what we wanted to do here. Here we are 9 months later. I could have popped out another kid, but I wanted to make sure I can put all my focus on it because I don't want 30 of them. But, you know, we're still, where are we sitting with this? Because it doesn't take 9 months to roll out software. I want to know why we went with a financial software, a solution like that, when there are solutions in place already for this.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Jim McGinnis, Building Official, Floodplain Manager. I can't answer as to the administrative decisions not to go with outside permitting software. I can't answer to that. I can't answer to the problems that we have as a building department with the current Tyler software. We're still in a position that we're dealing with stuff that was misimplemented from 2018. Our permit techs still have to manually calculate the fees and enter them in the system. The system should self-generate, and every administration I've had for the past 3 towns, it did so. And so it's been very difficult, and it takes a lot of time to issue a permit for that reason. So we've had to go back and slowly fix a lot of things that should have been implemented properly from the get-go, and so that's been a big delay. So now we're finally in an environment where we have Marisol and I worked with Tyler to build the workflows for each type of permit. We're currently going with what's called an inactive test type of environment, which allows us to check the workflows for each permit and to make sure there's no flaws, to make sure someone applying for a fence permit doesn't have to provide, you know, square footage, building types, and other superfluous type of information, to make it a smooth customer experience online. That's our goal. So we're in a testing environment right now, finally. And because of all the other misimplementations, that's the reason for the delay. We still have a lot of stuff to fix, like, for instance, fee generation. That's why it takes so long to issue a permit, is because we got to, especially on a big house, manually calculate the fees and put them in the system. But the test environment is good. We're going to be in that for about 7 to 10 days. Unless we discover a whole lot of different issues after that, then we can start the go live process after that. And our goal is to have it done by the next commission meeting, go live. Of course, it takes cooperation
Heard that last one.
from the, sir?
So I heard that last meeting.
I don't. Then we hit the roadblocks. What we want to do is do baby steps. The worst thing you want to try to do is everything at once. And right now, our focus is on 2 things: permitting and inspections. People applying for a permit, paying for a permit, picking up, doing a permit, and calling inspections online. That's first. Next comes plan review. The good news is we did get that as part of our menu. We got plan review. It's called e-review and Bluebeam. That's a part of our menu. It has not been implemented yet.
So what I'm hearing is you're creating flows from scratch in a software that doesn't seem built for this. And again, I would love to know why we went with this. What were the benefits as opposed to an out-of-the-box solution which exists for multiple municipalities across the state of Florida that I'm aware of. I'm curious from our town attorney, as far as the contract we locked ourselves in, is this something, was there a time frame for this? Because, and I can tell you, being in software, however long you think it's going to take to implement it and get it out, it's not, because you're going to find bugs. And then as soon as it's launched, you're going to start finding more bugs once it's in real life. So you're talking after that 6 to 8 months before you have a system that starts working properly. So, you know, this can take a year and a half to get out. And again, I'm curious why we didn't go with a solution like Citizen Serve, which is used across the board and is a solution that's built specifically for the building department, as opposed to taking a software and trying, you're telling me you create flows. I worked on that. Like, you shouldn't have to sit down and run this. You know, if you had the software that was built for that, they've done all this work for you. All you got to do is change your logo on the top of the page.
We've had to
You're
do
good
that
go.
work, and my prior jurisdiction was the Citizen Serve.
And now they're good to go because of all your work back then, so.
Correct. We still had to do
I mean,
work.
all I hear is positivity coming out from Bay Harbor Islands, how they all love that thing. From the residents, how simple it is, how easy it is. Here we are, the commission that tried to, you know, streamline the building department, and we're still back where we were before. And instead, we have what seems to be a solution that is not being implemented. So I would love to know what our out is on this. I mean, we can discuss
Mayor,
in a bit.
this is the Tyler contract?
I assume so. I do not know that end of it. I just know
Yeah,
the
I would need to-
functionality or
I would need
dysfunctionality
to
of it.
review the contract and look at this particular task in the contract and get back to you and let you know what the options or the remedies are.
And
If
in the
I can
meantime, we'll keep our testing going, we'll
Yeah,
keep
keep it
working.
going.
We'll keep diving into it, so we don't lose time, any further time. But
But even if everything goes according to plan, we're 6 to 8 months away from a working software without bugs. That's not gonna bump into anything, and we're already 10 months in at this point. So it's, you know, again, I would like to direct the town staff to take a look at some out-of-the-box solutions. At the same time, we will, you know, you keep going, I'm not gonna stop that. But let's look at our contract with them, because there's gotta be some sort of time frame. I know with our construction development, there's, you know, they gotta be held accountable.
Mayor, obviously the staff, what you're tasking the staff to do through me, you know, it all goes to the root of the Tyler software. What was the intention of bringing it forth? What capacities, as well as how capable and specific was it tailored for example, the building department? You know, such a complex software does require a lot of back-end protocols that I know Jim is working on, to his credit. But again, was Tyler the best software for building department coordination management? That is something we will look into further.
I think it's obvious that it's not, and that's unfortunate. Again, building softwares for government, this, you know, if I came in and said, if I promised a different product that wasn't in my wheelhouse, yeah, it would take me a year to now sit and develop that. I've created products faster than this. I've created software faster than 9 months. I've rolled out brand new features in 3 months and put them out in 38 states with different requirements. This is absurdly slow, absurdly. I could have had a team of developers building me an entire app for anything. It sounds like we started from scratch. So, you know, again, we're trying to move this item forward. This was very important to us. I have to field calls from residents that are all upset. There's no reason that this commission came in supporting the building department, trying to move everything forward, and I know you've been on that, but there shouldn't be a reason that we have to keep fielding these calls and angry residents, you know, like.
I agree.
I'd like to know what the holdup is, and I know you're frustrated as much as I am with this, so.
All right. Thank you.
No problem, thanks. Maybe you shouldn't sit down. Digitizing, one more thing, Jim. Inquiry, it's in here, and again, just digitizing archives. You know, we spent that money to digitize all our.
Yes.
Go through our archives. It was a considerable amount, but it was obviously important. Moving forward, are we scanning everything in that comes in? Are we requiring submissions, digital submissions? Because from what I understand, we're not, and it seems like next year we're gonna have to re-archive everything from this year again.
No, that's not correct. That's misinformation, sir, respectfully.
I read it on Nextdoor, I'm sorry.
This is actually, there you go. This is actually a success story. GRM has performed wonderfully. They've already taken 30 boxes of permits for scanning. We have another 20 ready, which actually takes staff time to do. And we're down to 1/3 the permit staff right now. So we're got some good candidates that were in the works to staff up. So in any case, this coming week, we have scheduled for GRM to pick up the entire 3 storage units worth of documents. And that's a substantial savings to the city for storage. And that's one of our goals from the prior town manager, said get it done by the end of the year and you'll be heroes. So the storage units will be cleaned out completely, and yes, they are scanning. They're scanning continually, and that has been a real success, and it's going quite well.
So
But it's still,
moving
we're still
forward,
going back to, 1950, 60, way back. So it's a vast project. We have a lot of documents. And so it's going to take a while, but eventually everything will be online, and that's working. That's successful.
I'm happy to hear that.
Mayor, I've seen the storage. It's quite a mission. It's
No, my concern was moving forward, if we're scanning moving forward. If that's part of the standard protocol, the SOPs, when something comes in, we're scanning it, we're digitizing it, because otherwise we're just working against ourselves. Because I know there's a considerable effort to digitize this.
That one's moving.
We're not gonna scan anymore, because I'm gonna put them on the spot. We're just gonna go fully digital for submission, so we don't
That's
have to scan anymore.
that's the whole idea, software and permitting.
See, we're stuck at the software. One last thing, this is, I guess, really for the administration. You don't have to, but I understand that, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, the assistant town planner, reviewer, building department technician position opened up. Again, that was something we asked for and approved many, many months ago. I'm asking, was there a delay for a reason? Was it placement? Because, we came in, we said, get the people you need to get this department going. And from my understanding, 3 weeks ago, the this position opened up.
And this was which position, sir?
I'm not sure if they're separate, but assistant town plan reviewer.
No, there's actually assistant building official, and then there's building inspector, building plans examiner. That's another one. We are also moving quickly on creating another position called structural plans examiner, because one of the, as Commissioner Rose will attest, now that Judith is on board and in-house wonderfully, which is great, we have the planning side moving quicker. So Walter, all due respect, he was overloaded way up in Stuart, Florida. Now we have Judith in-house. And we want to get an in-house, at least a part-time structural plans examiner. And I found one, extremely great rate, works for Bay Harbor Islands and Ball Harbor as well, my fellow building officials up there. And he's ready to circulate between the three cities, similar to our MEP inspectors. What's really working is our MEP inspections dramatically. That's really working. And keep in mind, the building department has been dislocated. We're working out of strange offices with permit files everywhere. When we get in that new office, things are going to go much smoother, I guarantee you. Because we're going to have an in-house structural plans examiner too that Mr. Rose will just, do backflips over. So that's my response to that, respectfully, sir.
So I appreciate it. Again, I just want to let you know that you have our support.
Thank you.
And, whatever it is you need to streamline and get these things
Thank you.
moving, there shouldn't be any, hiccups and roadblocks along the way. Please let us know, because you've got our full back and we're trying to get.
Thank you. And when we do open, it is going to be warm and friendly. And actually,
Popcorn or not?
Yes, it's going to be. And what's really going to define it is the attitudes of the people at the front counter greeting people.
Yep.
And that's the difference.
I think you have talent hidden
Because
in the back,
it took me 10 to 15 minutes to get acknowledged when I came for the meeting. I'm thinking, oh man, I got a lot to fix here. And it's just taking them a while because anyway, we're fixing it. Thank
The
you.
support's there, so
Thank you.
whatever you need to get it going.
Add a thought there, we should make sure we have a ribbon cutting ceremony when we open that thing up, so we
Depends
have.
what it looks like.
If it looks good,
Maybe
we
version
should have a
2 or
ribbon
something.
cutting.
Or a
demo party.
It's definitely part of the
If
program.
it looks like Brooklyn, we can have like a mugging or something down there. Frank is gone, but I guess I just want to say I looked at the electrical box initiative, and I was privy of seeing some of the initial designs. It looks really nice. It's a great initiative. I'm happy that came forward. We're going to be covering these ugly electrical boxing with branding and nice things. I would just like that. This does, again, represent the city, right? If something goes out and everybody says that's disgusting, we get blamed for it. So I'd love for that to come to us to make sure that we're okay with it before it goes out. Being that is the face of the town and we're the ones that get blamed for it. So please, if we can bring that back when it's ready to go. But from what I've seen, they're gorgeous, and they're good to go. I just want to make sure everybody's okay with that.
It's straightforward, and just, is everyone aware, through the mayor, commissioners, just the branding of current boxes are meant for traffic control. They're just big boxes you see, branded, huge North Bay Village and whatnot. You see there's pretty much wrapping an existing utility box so that it has some kind of art on it. It's something that's been done by other municipalities, so the template's there. We just have to create a nice design, and all it does is creates a certain level of street art to an existing utility.
Yeah. So, the commission said they read through the whole manager's report, so I'm assuming they knew about this. But it does look exciting. I've seen some of the samples beforehand. And I thank Frank if he's watching or listening, because it's a great initiative. Open projects, right? One of the items on here is a little bit more important, is the FDOT crosswalks. They're supposed to be for 89th and 90th Street, correct? If you read through FDOT's entire report, it only mentions 89th Street on Harding and Collins. It doesn't make any mention to 90th Street. So I'm wondering what happened to 90th Street in this project?
So if it was lost throughout the translation of the town manager's report where it was not included, that is just simply a technicality. Currently, Alvarez Engineers was contracted by FDOT to design those 3 locations. It was all part of a group project. So, the support's there, and we could provide it as a supplemental and circle it around. But it was deemed justified that the 3 locations require a crosswalk. And again, it's already commissioned at the design phase by the Florida Department of Transportation. Now, currently, we're going to seek for, it was spoken up earlier, but, we want DOT to fund the construction phase of this project, but at least it's moving in the right direction with the design. And,
Okay, so papers got lost?
Papers got lost.
But it's in there, right, as part of the project?
Yes, it's part of the review.
I guess just one last thing again, we've been asking, and the commission voted already 4 months ago for the town administration to provide us with project reports, looking like this.
Yes, Mayor. We've,
Still waiting on it, so I would love, because I know you don't have enough work to get these down.
Mayor, I understand your point. I understand that we want to see a Gantt-style schedule, which is pretty much a schedule which shows all the activities and where we're at with these. Just for clarification, we feel it's there. I mean, obviously, as some of the newer projects start becoming commissioned or coming to being commissioned, you will have a project schedule update or included. But is there a specific schedule you're looking for, or you're looking more of a master overall schedule? With that said, we feel that a lot of the project detail sheets provided within the town manager report has the backup schedule requested. Now, again, I just want to make sure we understand correctly so that we deliver correctly.
All right, so, I mean, this, again, was something the commission was very specific and voted on. First thing is I want to know, it's for us to visually track it, right? Something like this helps us visually track where we're going, what's going on. So when somebody says, hey, when's the park getting ready? Well, we're doing this in July, and in August, we're going to be in here. So we have that full thing. What I'm looking at here is, 3 lines. And again, we've discussed this many times, that this is not sufficient. Design phase 1, May 22, procurement, May 20. It's not a project schedule. We need more details than this. And again, I want to know what was happening on these projects from when they were approved. And, we've been sitting here for 8 or 9 months on some of these projects, 6, 7 months. I'd like to track that through, and see what this town has been doing on these projects.
Understood. It's just, again, what we're asking for is some type of Gantt schedule that, it seems like you want to see almost a baseline with a benchmark of commission approval, date, and wherever we are today.
And whatever it was, if
Correct.
it's finding, if it's procuring, an architect, and throw that in there. If it's the architectural phase, but it should be broken down into tasks.
Is there a
so we
specific one
understand
you
what's
want to go
going
over with? Just
again, there are so many in here, but I'd like to start with the commission initiatives, and we can sit down this week and go through that. We don't
Let's
have to
do
do it
that.
over here, but again, it's the main commission initiatives. The piping on the things, these are public works projects. We trust you, go ahead, knock it off. But some of the main ones that we've been trying to get done for a while, I'd love to track it and be able to get back to residents with an actual time frame on these things.
okay.
All right, so we'll go through it again. It's not the 20, 30 projects sitting here. I think we had like 5 of them that we really wanted. It's been 4 months. It's, hopefully with new management, we can get that done.
I'll sit, we'll have a sit down. Just want to make sure, again, we provided deliverables being requested, and perhaps that's more of a coordination level meeting, and we'll save it for that.
All right, appreciate it. I think that's it for me. If somebody, I guess, can make a motion to approve the town manager's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager's report.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. I've lost my agenda, so let's see where we're up to. I think it's town attorney's report, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, good. Any questions on the report? I just want to say, on the litigation update, it begins on page 14. The Grand Beach chair litigation has been removed from the report. That matter was previously concluded. The FAA Metroplex appeal has also been removed. That matter is also concluded. And we have 2 remaining litigation matters. Solimar condominium, we're still waiting on the court's orders on the 2 summary judgments that were proposed. That hearing occurred on October 7th, but we still have not heard back on the court's ruling. The next item is Shannon Gallagher. That's the appeal of the development approval. The town and Fort Capital's response to Gallagher's amended petition is due December 23rd of this year. So we'll be filing a joint response to the amended petition. Other than that, there's no other litigation matters that our firm is responsible for. I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
All right, so just a clarification, there may still be litigation ongoing that your firm is not representing? Are you aware of any of them, or?
Yes, there are insurance matters and other litigation being handled by the FMIT defense policy through attorneys that they engage. I'm aware of some of the status of those cases which they're handling. Yes, like for example, Barry Cohen versus the town on a personal injury matter and other matters like that.
I'm curious if the commission has a will to kind of like include that into it as a separate section, so we know what's happening here, all litigation we're involved in, if it's a, you know, a class action, if it's somebody slipped and fell, it's kind of important to know that. Is
Yeah,
that,
I'm
is that
happy
a
to include
possibility? I
that,
don't know
yes.
if you have all that
I will work
information.
with their attorneys and get that information in here.
Don't want to give you too much more work, because I
No,
don't want to
that's
get billed
fine.
for it. But
We
I
can do
wanna-
that.
Yeah, all right, appreciate it. Can I get a motion to approve the town attorney's report? First of all, again,
Can I
great
s-
news about the Grand Beach lawsuit drop.
One question about a contract being negotiated, I'm not sure what the right term is, the agreement with the contractor for the 96th Street Park, that's still in legal, correct?
The contract and the general conditions were actually included with the RFP. They were in substantial final form. We did have a kickoff meeting with representatives of Lunacon, the contractor. There were small tweaks and updates to the contract, and that was presented to the contractor this week.
When do we think they will be signed and executed?
Lily,
They haven't indicated, but
if I may add, you know, just, we did provide a contract, it's on their court. Last, from the owner of Lunacon, we've heard that it is being reviewed through their counsel, but at the meeting where we reviewed the contract, there was no major objections that we would foresee cause some level of delay. The award letter for the park was already issued to Lunacon, therefore, a lot of the pre-construction items are already being worked on. The award letter authorizes Lunacon to start engaging in certain matters such as buyout, make sure we have some of the lead items already worked on, especially getting your submittals together. With that said, we don't foresee that there will be a contract delay that will delay the official NTP, the notice to proceed date that was issued in the award letter, which was January 17th. January 17th, 2023, the reason that date was established was because we have a parks event that weekend. I believe it's Family Fun Day. Then it's followed by Martin Luther King Day Jr. on that Monday. So the next available date is that 17th of January, which is, as of right now, based on talks with Lunacon, we're still on schedule for that start date.
if I may, through the mayor, just supplement what our town manager said. Including the contract and the general conditions with the RFP is a huge time saver. They were aware of what they were bidding on, the contract terms were included. When I say we've revised and updated, we've included pricing and certain dates and things like that in the contract that reflect their proposal. So hopefully we'll receive feedback soon from the contractor.
Thank you.
So again, can I get a motion and a second to move the town attorney's report?
I'll move to approve the town attorney's report.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
All right, unfinished business and new business. In my item, I'm removing my walk-on. Did we do 2D? I think we were, no, 2D.
Mayor, you tabled it. I'm not sure if Commissioner Landsman
Well, we
had any.
tabled it. The question is, do you want to continue this discussion? What time does our meetings go till? 11. You've got 50 minutes, or we can all go home early, whatever you want. What?
That's one sentence.
That's,
The only thing I'll add is if we could, again, give town direction between town manager, town planner, come back next month, working with the P and Z board, of course, to come up with some potential suggestions. I know you had a deck started. Let's get that, I guess, looked at, more refined, and come back to us with maybe some suggestions that can help us, including the design review guidelines, but what other things can we possibly consider?
Judith Frankel, town planner. It would be helpful if there was a direction, if you would like the planning and zoning board to have more ability to critique things, that's a direction, and I can put together ideas of how that might be possible. I've also heard that you might want the planning and zoning board to have less ability to critique things, or might want to get rid of that element. So direction would be useful.
helpful.
Or, I mean, I guess I could do both, but
Please don't.
I would say more. I would say more then less. We don't want to eliminate them from this piece of it, but what more could they possibly get their arms around to help make
Okay.
them feel more involved in again, helping our town evolve? Other people, yes?
So I'll just be, this one may be for one of our town attorneys, Tony Rescio. So for me personally, it's not just checking the boxes. I think there should be some design review, but I think it would be I don't want to go down the road where if there's 5 extreme people that are put on this board and they can be like, every single thing checks all the boxes and it meets code, and a former commissioner who doesn't like anything to happen says, we're just going to put 5 people on there, they all get elected, and everything meets code, but we're not going to approve any addition, we're not going to approve any house. And then you ask the town attorney, what part of the code doesn't meet? And they're just like, it doesn't meet code, we don't like it. I would never want a board if you meet code when you have by right. So that would be my biggest concern. Whether it's an addition, a new house, a condo building, whatever it is, I would never want a P&Z board if an applicant checks every box and does everything, and they're just like, move your door over 6 inches because one member says that, and then they're just like, no, this works for our floor plan, and everyone votes no. They come back the next month and they're like, move it over another 12 inches, and the owner says no, and then we're going in circles. I would never think an applicant, if it checks the boxes and meets the code, should do it. It's the same reason, and I think I brought this up before, roof color is one of those things, and it's, and I hate to use this word, it's asinine to me that we cannot allow some roof colors on new houses, but when you go to re-roof a house, a gray roof is allowed. A previous planning board said we don't want dark gray roofs, but if you go to re-roof your house, it's fine. So you build a brand new house, you put on a white roof, and then 2 days later you say, all right, I'm just gonna apply for a permit to re-roof it. There's no application. So those are some of the things that bother me, and there shouldn't be a point where a board can just say no because we don't want construction to happen in town, and I know that was where some previous commissioners wanted to go. So if something meets code and checks the boxes, and a board should have to point, and this has been brought up with Mr. Rescio before, because some applications tried to say, oh, we're not going to approve it, and when I was an applicant, I said, okay, please cite the section of the code, and they weren't able to cite a section of the code, and that's when the town attorney stepped in and said it's kind of a by right thing. You can't just disapprove something. So that's the only thing. You don't want to put us in a position, then they're appealing, then they're coming to the commission. If it meets the code, it meets the code. If the code needs to be changed, that's a different discussion. Design review guidelines is something I think that's going to help us out tremendously. We've approved that. I know I've spoken with Judith about this, about putting what things can be in there, the average setback, the part of the application, what you should be including, the materials, and I think that's going to be making a lot smoother process for her. And to toot your horn, I've heard great things since we've hired a full-time town planner. So thank you.
I gotta agree with the vice mayor. I'm not comfortable with people being able to say they don't like something just because they don't like it. We have a current member on the P&Z that thinks everything should be Art Deco in town because we're old. It's a matter of opinion, okay? I think the homeowners should have certain rights as a homeowner to design the way they see fit. We have certain things in place. We have certain guides. We're going to be expanding on those guides. But again, I'm definitely not for allowing P&Z to make these determinations without something to point to in our code or in our charter. It shouldn't be up to some stranger as to what they like and what they don't like. Again, if we're putting together a design document, if they can point to someone, and that's kind of their thing, is to look at, it's not necessarily look at code, but we hear all the time, it doesn't fit with the town, it doesn't fit with the design. We've heard this with the buildings. How do you say that when our town is changing so much? Every house, every block has a Jeff Rose house going up. Like the town is changing. You see it on Collins Avenue and you see it in the residence. So to try to stick to one specific design element or one style is going to stop and hinder the growth that's naturally occurring in town anyways. But again, we're going to move forward with this design document as requested by P&Z for the last while. We're going to get a little more in there, so it's not an argument between them whether they like something or whether they don't. They have what to fall back on, and I think the residents deserve that. I don't think we need to leave their houses to the mercy of who's ever sitting on the P&Z at the time.
And again, just to clarify, I don't want to give this P&Z board this ability to say yes or no because they want to, and if they say no, the house doesn't get built. That's not the intent. The intent is to get beyond where their only option is to say yes. If it meets code, the answer is yes, then why go through the exercise? It takes more time, more cost, more expense to get a house built. I want something in the middle where there's maybe a little bit more guidance they can give, if that's possible. If it's not, then we don't do anything. That's an okay option.
If I may, I think part of that is going to come through the design review guidelines review, that clarity that's not there now. I've certainly heard Vice Mayor Rose's comments now and in the past, and I agree with them. Clarity makes everybody's job more easier, mine, yours, architects, homeowners, and that's where we want to get to. But I think that I did make a PowerPoint which had my suggestions on it, but is that I think there's a couple things that we could do, or that I could do. There are places, I've talked with Commissioner Rose about the ambiguities and places that don't make sense, and I've been working with Mr. Resio on trying to clean that up, and encompass with the design review guides, bring that to you. I do think there are places where we could make it clearer where the board could have, but where the board has some ability to give guidance to the applicant. Because that's really what it says in the code when you look at where it directs the design guidelines to go, is it directs the board to give guidance to the applicant. And I think calling out where those specific spots might be so that it's clear to everybody involved where those points are, and at least bringing those points forward through the design review guidelines review process so that everybody can see what they are. Because I don't know that it's sounding like it's not clear to everybody at the moment.
So, through the mayor, sorry.
I just want to make one comment. I think we should just continue to let the town planner review the design guidelines like she's doing right now. And that's, in progress, that's in process, and let's just continue and see how that's working out.
So, again, this question is for the town attorney or Commissioner Landsman. So I know I'll just use a simple example. 93 Ocean, beautiful project. We saw it meets code every way. It's by right. The P&Z board says, hey, the balcony should be cut back 5 feet, but they fully meet code. So now it comes to a vote and they say, hey, we're not going to approve unless you don't bring your balconies back 5 feet. You think the P&Z board should be able to reject that?
Mr. Resio, I will let you, as he says in every meeting, this is not a popularity contest. So the board cannot, just because they like or dislike, or they think they can't just say yes or no. There has to be some rationale for their decision making. No, Mr. Vice Mayor, if it meets code and the balconies are appropriately placed, they can't make that change. That is true. That's not the point.
But you're trying to give them more teeth, I get what you're saying, so it's not checking the boxes.
Maybe the clarification and the design review guidelines, we're going forward with that. That's absolutely a requirement that's been a need for a long time. But maybe the clarification of what the board can actually do or not do if there is something. And again, the answer may be no.
In your example, I don't think you can say that. I mean, I'm not the town attorney, but if the balconies meet code, then they meet code. You can't say bring them in 5 feet because I feel like they should be brought in 5 feet. However, if the balconies are kind of strangely, I mean, you gave an example of a beautifully designed building. You could potentially see an instance where the balconies on one side didn't match the balconies on the other side, and they met code, but they were designed wonky and they were inconsistent, and the code calls for consistency in design. Well, consistency is a little bit up to the eye of the beholder, but I think the purpose of bringing it to the board is for that to be out in the public, for everybody to see, and the board has to answer to the public and to you all. And I think that we can't foresee every potential permutation of design, and that's really the purpose, is to catch those things. I'll let Mr. Resio answer.
Ms. Rangel's actually answering it perfectly. There are criteria in the design guidelines. That's what the board is applying. If anything could help, it would be to clarify what aspects of those criteria they should articulate when they're making a decision. So in the example that you gave, if they're just saying, okay, pull it in 5 feet just because, well, clearly they're not tying it back to the criteria. However, if, you know, as Ms. Frankel mentioned, there's a consistency in design issue. There's a massing issue because of the design of those particular balconies. They're encroaching, or they're creating situations which do not meet the design guidelines. Then I think they have every right to say, hey, that's a problem with that design guideline. And if enough of them agree, that's going to be their decision. They're going to make that recommendation. Now, in that case, that kind of building would come before you all as well. And you all would apply not only the design guidelines, but you also apply the site plan criteria when you're evaluating this. So you have a whole other set of criteria.
I mean, it sounds like we're not looking to put more on them right now or give them that. I think maybe we see how the design document progresses, and then from that, we see what sort of powers come out of that, what determinations we want to give them. But I don't think just to give them some sort of carte blanche, or, you know, there's definitely no drive to go do that. Options and choices. Options and choices, so. But yeah, I think, look, a design document is going to be very important as to, you know, where we see the direction of the town, and that's going to be a lot of discussion on that. And then P&Z will find themselves with more to do, I'm guessing. I'll tell you what I said afterwards.
He was gonna say motion to adjourn, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Motion to extend?
No.
No, Mayor, did you remove your item?
Yes.
Your item, okay.
We already had public comment on this item, and you already spoke on this item, so we're good on this.
5:30 meeting?
Same item.
Thank you all for the discussion. Let's leave it there, and I will move to adjourn.
Thank you for the topic.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Of course. By the way, for the record, the vice mayor said no. I said no. Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. These are all the cards I have. Is there anybody else that plans on speaking tonight? All right. At this point, I'm going to close